This girl had just won a 5 million lottery prize when she was killed by someone jumping off a building. After her death, she was unwilling to accept it. She went to the king of hell, throwing a tantrum. She forcibly stretched the tongues of the messengers of death into a 2-meter-long braid. She cried so much that the king of hell's palace almost collapsed. That old man had lived for so many years, and it was the first time he encountered such a difficult girl. I'm worn out. I have no choice but to quickly arrange for this girl to be reborn as a princess who enjoys all the glory and wealth in her next life. Upon hearing this, the girl was overjoyed. She eagerly asked, will I have parents? Will I have siblings? Will everyone love me? The Yama king awkwardly smiled. He repeatedly said, yes, 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 everything you want is here. At this moment, he just wants to quickly get rid of this little trouble. The plane is thrown away, risking life. Shouting out for the wrong souls. Quickly go and reincarnate. Who knew this girl would open her eyes? Oh my gosh. What she sees in front of her is actually the cold palace. And there's the hiccup of being locked in a dark room. A mother who is powerless to protect herself. Grandparents who committed treason. What kind of super tragic gift package is this? And he, who just became a princess 0.01 seconds ago, is forced to dress as a man again. Becoming a prince. I hate my fate. Old King Yen. Where's the promised favorite? Where's the promised wealth and glory? He went straight into seclusion, screaming for destruction inside. My happy planet. In the blink of an eye, 5 years have passed. 99 was truly miserable, not to mention being poorly dressed. I haven't even caught a glimpse of that cheap father. I thought I would just live this life aimlessly, but unexpectedly, I offended the arrogant Princess Anyang, just because I didn't kneel before her. The Princess Anyang couldn't accept that, but the name Princess Anyang sounds somewhat familiar. I thought for a long time before I remembered. It turns out that I was arranged to be in a novel called The Queen's Immortal. Princess Anyang, Feng Kaiwei, is the female lead of this novel. My so-called cheap father, having no daughters, raised the royal relative's daughter, Feng Kaiwei, in the palace as his own daughter and spoiled her. He even betrothed her to the crown prince. The crown prince loves her dearly. 10 years later, in the kingdom of Shichu, Feng Kaiwei went to the southern kingdom to become the queen, unifying the world with the southern kingdom's imperial army, a definite overpowered female lead, while I, on the other hand, am just a refugee. And today, I will be beaten to death by my own father. Just a mere cannon fodder. Jiujiu doesn't want to accept this miserable fate. Seeing Jiujiu remain silent, Feng Kaiwei suddenly became furious. She raised her hand, wanting to grab her pretty little face. Jiujiu instinctively reached out to hit it away. She shouted at the top of her lungs, what do you want to do? Get away. Feng Kaiwei has never been treated so unfairly. Immediately, she put on a pitiful act. Wah! That little brat Huangbo stole my things, and he wants to grab my face too. What a clever trick, the villain cries first. I don't know which fool would fall for it. Just as I was lost in thought, the tyrant quietly approached. The tyrant is quite a character too. Without asking for any details, he directly ordered to capture and execute Jiujiu. Then he hurried to comfort the liar. Feng Kaiwei has a strong position. Don't cry, Wei Wei. Your face is all wet like a little kitten. Feng Kaiwei wiped her runny nose and tears all over the tyrant. The tyrant's father turned back and gave him a death glare. He was so scared that he almost wet his diaper. Is this tyrant really going to kill me without any reason? After all, he is my biological father. As the saying goes, a tiger doesn't eat its own cubs. The tyrant's expression suddenly darkened. It seemed he heard that little brat speaking. But strangely, his mouth wasn't moving. Could it be that he can hear his thoughts? The tyrant began to feel curious about him. Which palace does this kid belong to? What is his identity? The eunuch reported. This boy was born to imperial concubine of the Cold Palace. He is the 18th prince. The who always upon hearing that he was a prince, without batting an eyelid, immediately ordered him to be dragged away and beaten to death. Jiujiu felt wronged. Feng Kaiwei was lying. The talkative child. I didn't steal his things. On the contrary, he thought I was good looking, and wanted to scratch my face. The tyrant father is an idiot. No wonder the Western Chu kingdom fell after 10 years. It concerns the fate of the nation. As soon as the great tyrant heard this, immediately calmed down. Wait a moment. I have something to ask him. Why are you staring blankly for so long? Cheap father has had a change of heart. I don't need to reincarnate for now. The cold-blooded tyrant actually wants to execute his own son, just because he isn't a daughter. But when he hears his son's true feelings, immediately changed his mind. The tyrant turned to Feng Kaiwei. He asked what exactly had been stolen. This little girl, Feng Kaiwei, was quite cunning. She threw the gold bracelet into the grass behind her, and she shouted that it was over there. He just threw it that way. Zai watched Feng Kaiwei's performance, inwardly sneering, which idiot would throw dirty things behind themselves? Is the IQ touching? Could it be that some tyrant is blind and can't see it? Don't talk nonsense, I can hear you. The great tyrant is furious and enraged. Make Feng Kaiwei confess honestly. Feng Kaiwei's round little face was instantly scared into a square shape. With a thud, she knelt down and begged for mercy. The tyrant is not going to spare him this time. He directly ordered to throw him into the Empress Dowager's temple pit. Upon hearing this, Feng Kaiwei burst into tears. Watching from the side, it was quite satisfying. He wondered if the tyrant had suddenly developed a conscience. Had he suddenly become clever? The tyrant heard Chi-Chi's thoughts. She turned around and gave him a fierce glare. Kai Xian was so scared that his heart raced. It was terrifying. Feng Kaiwei saw that her dear Huangbo remained unmoved. She quickly asked Aunt Jiang Guifei to save Wei Wei. Jiang Guifei was also very anxious. Wei Wei was her favorite confidant. If Wei Wei left, the emperor won't go to her palace anymore. So she mustered her courage to plead with the emperor for her niece. Please let Wei Wei off this time. Shut up. The tyrant is displeased. Blaming concubine Jiang, it's your lack of discipline. Starting today, you are under house arrest for reflection. Thinking it had nothing to do with her, she planned to sneak away quietly. But the next second, she was caught by the tyrant's deadly glare. Why am I scared again, making my diaper wet? Why is the tyrant looking at me with that strange gaze? Is he really going to kill me? I'm so scared for a long time. I'm afraid of pain for a long time. The tyrant is getting close to my ugly self. Wow, you actually look quite good. So pink and tender. So cute and adorable. Better looking than his 17 royal brothers. If it were a daughter, she would definitely be cherished. The tyrant sighed in regret. He had eunuch Fuan send the child back. After a long while, the tyrant didn't execute him. He even sent someone to take him back. It's somewhat conscientious. I can't help but murmur to myself. If this cheap father had been so wise earlier, my poor mother wouldn't have been locked up in the cold palace. But this cheap father isn't much better. When he walks onto the bridge in the lake, I hope the bridge will break his dog leg. I originally wanted to remind him. It's hard to imagine that this cheap father is indifferent to both himself and the empress. He doesn't care if he becomes a god. Love can die quickly. Then eunuch Fuan sent the child to the cold palace. He still felt a bit guilty after a long time. He decided to have the eunuch give a reminder. The cheap father arrived at the lake by the imperial garden. He waited for a cup of tea, crossing Lake Heart Bridge again. The great tyrant is on his way back to the imperial study. He silently contemplates Jojo's words. That stinky brat said that the Western Chu kingdom will perish in 10 years. I'll just listen to it. No need to take it seriously. But he also said that my leg will be broken. It sounds rather uncanny. At that moment, Fuan also returned. Seeing the tyrant walking to the lake, he remembered Jojo's words. He hurried to stop him. Your Majesty, have a cup of tea before continuing on. The tyrant understood immediately. It must be that brat who said something. I suppose he still has a bit of conscience. The tyrant cleared his throat twice, feeling a bit smug. Let Fuan serve the tea. He wants to see if the bridge will actually collapse. 5 minutes passed. The bridge in the lake still stood firm. The tyrant is growing impatient. Humph, it seems that brat's words weren't entirely true. At this time, Lu, the head lady-in-waiting from the imperial study, comes to invite the tyrant to attend to state affairs. But just as the tyrant stands up, a tremendous boom comes from behind him. The bridge has collapsed, and it's in pieces. The tyrant can't imagine what would have happened if he had walked across it just now. The consequences are unimaginable. Just as that little brat said, even if he doesn't die, he'll lose a leg. At that time, there will be chaos in the court. It will fall apart sooner or later. It seems that little brat really has the ability to predict the future. What a treasure he is. The great tyrant jumped up 3 feet high with joy. Immediately have Lu Gugu dismissed that group of old ministers, only leaving the national master. Then he happily rushed off to the cold palace. The tyrant's most valued national master suddenly died. Yet he was so happy that he kissed Zai 99 times. Only because Zai muttered that the national master's time was up. The tyrant, in order to hear Zai's thoughts, actually went so far as to not let him sleep. You brat, you need to calm down. His heartbroken mother bravely stepped forward to dissuade him. Your Majesty, even if you don't like Jojo, you can't torment Jojo like this. The tyrannical emperor awkwardly maintained his composure. Xiao Xiao stubbornly insisted that she only wanted to sleep with her child. Everyone else present thought, I don't believe you. However, the tyrannical emperor had already obediently picked up the drooling child. Send the others away. While Zai just fell asleep, the tyrant started thinking about how to get Zai to talk. Jojo, our Western Chu is about to face defeat. What should we do? Zai is really tough. Even while trying to sleep, I have to solve problems for my cheat dad. I can't help but grumble. It was the southern play that revealed military intelligence, which led to the defeat of Shi Chu. Upon hearing this, the tyrant immediately leaned in and asked, could it be that there is a play that steals military secrets? Wei Ping pretended to be pregnant, running to her cheap father's study every day, stealing military intelligence that led to the defeat. If her cheap father had fabricated military information and it was stolen, the Western Chu can turn passivity into active victory over the southern kingdom. Father tasted the little punches of love. He was so moved that he shed a tear, wondering what merit he had to have such an excellent child. The tyrant was in a great mood. Unable to resist, he gave the cute little face a kiss. Then he happily left. After the big fly left, the child can finally sleep soundly. The next day, Fuan was ordered to help Li Fei and Jojo move. Li Fei suggested taking Grandma Gui along to the Qiu Shui bureau offline. Li Fei had the favor of Junsheng. Fuan naturally had no objections to this. No one was happier than Jojo. Because of 5 years in the cold palace, besides her mother's rescue, Gui ma'am was the kindest to her. The three of them left the cold palace, hands clasped, starting a new life. The other palace maids in the cold palace could only watch them leave, filled with envy and resentment. 7 days later, the tyrannical emperor in the imperial study received good news from the front lines. She was glad she had listened to Z. They had been at war with the southern kingdom for so many years, and this was the first time they had won so decisively. Then good news came from the soldiers ahead. The southern kingdom is about to send envoys for peace talks. The emperor didn't even finish showering praises on the brilliant military leaders. Someone couldn't wait to show off. However, the Qiu Shui army was stopped by the doctor citing urgent matters. The tyrant had no choice but to listen attentively. As a result, the national master opened his mouth and said he was going to die. The tyrant was left dumbfounded, saying, no, no, no. Unlucky, I'll say it again. The national advisor just wants to remind the tyrant of a few things before he dies. I, your humble servant, have observed the heaven. I discovered that the Western Chu will face the disaster of losing the country in 10 years. But there is a solution. The lovers are the 18th prince and the 18th princess. No matter what happens, your Majesty must believe in the 18th prince and ensure his safety. The tyrannical emperor naturally kept this matter in mind. He nodded. I remember. The tyrannical emperor hesitated for a long time. He finally asked the national master one last question. Is it truly my fate to have no daughters? The national master didn't answer. He only said, heaven's secrets cannot be revealed. After saying this, the national master collapsed. News arrived the next day. The national master has passed away. The death of the national master. The tyrant doesn't know if it was a natural death, or if he was punished by heaven for revealing secrets. He pondered this as he headed to Qiu Shui residence to visit Li Fei and Jojo. The emperor has arrived. Li Fei and Jojo salute and greet him. Jojo raised her eyes and saw her dear father's troubled face. I thought we won the battle. Why isn't father happy? Could something else have happened? That's right, the Grand Master is dead. Upon hearing of the Grand Master's death, the tyrant's eyes suddenly lit up. He reached out and grabbed Jojo's small shoulder. The Grand Master's death was sudden. I don't even know what the reason is. Jojo is feeling really puzzled. Beast techniques have entered the north. When the tyrant heard this, he was as happy as a 200-pound child. He was so delighted that he even kissed Zai 99 times. Zai was directly overwhelmed by the kisses. I can't believe I was kissed by an old man. Ugh, I'm unclean. The tyrannical emperor, busy with affairs of state, is bored out of his mind. He's come to the cold palace to watch the child sleep. All because the child's heart can save the country. Little Jojo snuck out and wandered around all day. Only now does he slowly return home. Li Fei rushes forward and hugs the child tightly. He's already scared to tears. After all, back then, brother Jojo went out for a stroll and saved the world from being imprisoned. To this day, he still hasn't seen the light of day. Now, he only has Jojo, this little poison sprout left. Jojo stretched out her chubby little hand and clumsily wiped the tears off her mother's face. With a childish smile, she said that when she grows up, she would take her mother to live a good life. As for the timing to save brother, it's not time yet. Li Fei touched Zi's head with emotion. Mother doesn't care about good days. As long as you are safe and sound. Jojo looked at her beautiful and kind-hearted mother, and felt even more indignant for her. Her cheap father is just blind as a bat. He just missed his mother. Since Jojo was born, Li Fei could hear his inner voice. The more Jojo understood, the more he felt heartbroken. At such a young age, he hides too much inside. At this moment, a maid rushed over. and shouted at the top of her lungs that something was wrong. The emperor is here. Hearing this, Consort Li felt as if a great enemy had arrived. Confined to the cold palace for 5 years, the tyrannical emperor had completely ignored her. Something's amiss. Her first reaction was to hide Jojo. But Jojo urged her mother to relax, saying perhaps the emperor had come to take them out. Concubine Li sighed softly. This is probably just a dream of a fool. As soon as she finished speaking, the tyrant stormed in with a fierce demeanor. Upon entering, he was shocked by the simplicity of the cold palace. His pupils trembled. He thought to himself, where is this place for a person to live? Concubine Li quickly shielded Jojo behind her. Then, trembling, she bowed and greeted the throne. Your servant pays respects to your majesty. Long live the emperor, long live forever. The tyrant looked at the woman before him and smiled knowingly. He thought to himself, compared to the women in the palace dressed in red and green, the one before him in plain clothes had a unique charm. The tyrant took the initiative to grasp Li Fei's hand. There's no need to be formal. Please sit down. It's almost time for a cup of tea. After the tyrant sat down, he couldn't even let out a single sound. But his mind was racing. Jojo deserves a reward for saving me. But what if I reveal his resentment? If he refuses to predict for me anymore, what then? Just as Li Fei was about to speak and break the awkward silence, the tyrant finally thought of a reason. So I can use him for my own purposes. Without chilling his heart, the great tyrant cleared his throat and said, Li Fei, I intend to overturn your case of treason in collaboration with the enemy. Moreover, you have the merit of raising 18 princes. Move out of the cold palace first. The great tyrant's sudden favor surprised Li Fei greatly. Your servant thanks your majesty for your great kindness. Staring at the big tyrant for a long time, I can't help but murmur that the cheap dad has finally had a conscience. Please continue to maintain this. Who knows, I might end up liking this cheap dad. The proud big tyrant sneers dismissively, because he doesn't care about the affection of the cup. The big tyrant's ruthlessness, making the child feel even more wronged. The cheap dad definitely doesn't expect me to like him. What am I even thinking? Listen here, tyrant. Suddenly, it feels off inside. At this moment, Fuan hurriedly stepped forward to interrupt the emperor. Someone from the study is urging again. They say there's an emergency. The tyrant immediately got up, and with a wave of his hand, bestowed the best location in the palace, the autumn water steed, to Li Fei and Jojo. He also ordered Fuan to personally help them move. Jojo's eyes were spinning, as if she thought of something. Her cheap father went to discuss the military situation at the front lines. This battle, the Shichu state not only suffered a crushing defeat, but also lost 30,000 soldiers. The losses were devastating. They had to cede land and pay indemnities. It was as disastrous as it could be. Hearing this, the great tyrant suddenly stopped. Fuan carefully reminded the emperor that they were short on time. The tyrannical emperor shamelessly sat back down. I'm a little thirsty. I'll have a cup of tea before I go. He pricked up his ears, eager to know the reason for the defeat. But Z looked completely bewildered. Could my cheap father be seriously ill? He's looking at me with that strange look again. Mommy, I'm sleepy. I want to sleep. The dumbfounded tyrant is dumbfounded again. You're facing a national crisis, you idiot. You're so anxious you're about to smoke. You little brat, you actually want to sleep. The tyrant has no intention of giving up, even if you're asleep. Sticking closely to him, glaring at him intently. The heartfelt thoughts of a 5-year-old can predict the future, not only allowing the tyrant father to hold his head high in court, but also letting the delicate mother exude dominance in the harem. After being unexpectedly kissed by the cheap father, 99, feels like dying. The great tyrant gazed at this child for quite a while with a sense of resentment. I decided to make him suffer. Then I held him down and kissed him passionately 99 times. He was completely stunned, but Li Fei found the intensely kissed boy particularly adorable. He couldn't help but join the kissing party, kissing endlessly. His face was going to be kissed raw. A world where only the boy is hurt has been achieved. My parents both have such strange ways of thinking. Their family, after all. But Jojo still felt a little bit of quiet happiness inside. After all, in her past life, she had no father or mother. Now, she could truly feel the love of her parents. The great tyrant and Li Fei, upon hearing about Jojo's past life experiences, felt pity and compassion. The family of 3 embraced tightly. I want to give Jujiam more love. Jujiam has done a great job. The tyrant bestows countless treasures. But Zai only wants to wear pretty little dresses. Yet she is ruthlessly rejected by her mother. It's only because her mother is of low status. Her grandfather and grandmother are still in exile. She has yet to clear her own charges of treason and collusion. At that moment, Grandma Goe came to ask what should be prepared for the red attendant welcoming the bride. Jojo immediately became alert upon hearing this. She was secretly anxious. The Qin concubine is from the faction of concubine Jiang and Feng Kaiwei. What are they here for? I remember the book said, she would try every means to move in with the new favored concubine. Then those favored concubines would inexplicably feel anxious. They thought that if he came to Jiushui residence, they and their mothers might also be favored. Li Fei pondered after hearing Jojo's thoughts. Then she instructed Gui Mama not to prepare anything special. Gui Mama was puzzled. After all, the Empress had just said to prepare with care. Li Fei gently stroked Jojo's little head. I've seen through that concubine Qing's deceitful face. She ignored me in times of trouble, but now that she's favored, she fawns over me. Mama Goe sighed in relief after hearing this. She could finally speak her mind after all these years. It's good that your highness understands now. The next morning, concubine Qing set off for the autumn water residence, swearing to Feng Kaiwei to complete the task. Stay in Jiushui residence to kill Consort Li and her son. Feng Kaiwei nodded in satisfaction, just waiting to see how the Empress performs. In the blink of an eye, Consort Qing walked into Jiushui residence with a fake smile. Sister, I've come to see you. Consort Li lazily refused to get up to greet her. She simply said, Sister, since you are here, please come in and take a seat. This attitude truly surprised Qingfei. She had expected Li Fei to be emotional, crying and holding her. Qingfei felt uneasy. As she sat down, seeing Jojo, she smiled brightly. He reached out to hug her. She was so scared she almost wet her diaper. In her heart, she cried out for her mother. Consort Li firmly grasped Consort Qing's wrist, saying the child was just shy. Then she had someone serve tea. Consort Qing sipped her tea while observing Chiu Shueju. Then she spoke sarcastically, little sister, this is truly magnificent. Unlike my sister's old and dilapidated small courtyard, this one is so green and beautiful. Concubine Li didn't think much of it. She told her to ask the Imperial Household Department for repairs. Concubine Qing immediately pretended to be wronged and cried, those dog slaves in the Imperial Household Department only care about who they serve, they won't help me. Concubine Li wasn't used to her behavior. She casually picked up her sleeve, and frankly said, this shoe brocade is a fine material. Sister, are you sure this is called adapting to the situation? Qingfei was once again speechless. Finally, Qingfei used the excuse that they hadn't seen each other for many years, and missed each other very much, to suggest moving in together. Li Fei was merciless, exposing Qingfei's malicious intentions. Qingfei immediately lost her footing. After a haphazard explanation, I wanted to leave and let Li Fei keep me, but unexpectedly, Li Fei was completely taken. His heart was closed off. I was so angry I could crush my back teeth. My throat felt like it was on fire. The three half-brothers get along well, but the tyrant father gets angry just by looking at them. Li Fei successfully escaped the crisis with Qin Fei. Jiu felt a surge of joy in her heart. Grandma Gui came to report. The 10th prince and the 11th prince are lingering at the door, too afraid to come in. Li Fei coldly ordered them to leave. Jiu was puzzled why her mother was so cold to these two brothers. They are the closest to my 13th brother. After the incident with 13th brother, they desperately helped save people, and ultimately lost their lives. But mother never liked them. That's why they carried guilt until their deaths. Thinking of this, Jiu reached out her little hand and tugged at mother's sleeve. She begged mother to let her brothers in. Li Fei heard Jiu's heartfelt words just now, was also stunned. I didn't expect that old 10 and old 11 were so loyal and righteous. Over the years in the cold palace, he has come to understand the value of true feelings. He nodded and agreed to let them in. When the two princes saw Li Fei, they quickly bowed and greeted him. They also promised to continue finding a way to rescue the 13th brother. Hiding in the back, Jiu immediately noticed her brother's anxiety and tension. The two originally planned to greet them and leave. Unexpectedly, Li Fei insisted they sit down for tea. It almost scared the two of them out of their wits. After all, they often got scolded by Li Fei. Seeing their panic, Li Fei took the initiative to hold their hands, and sincerely apologized for not recognizing them properly in the past. Being sensible and honest, Blind said we were young and ignorant. We always made our mother angry. It won't happen again. Seeing that mother and my two brothers have resolved their misunderstandings, Jiu also made a grand entrance, stepping in as if she didn't recognize her own kin. As soon as they met, Jiu gasped in surprise, instantly becoming a little fan of her two brothers. Who could resist when all the brothers are so handsome? Jiu is incredibly happy. The two brothers are unexpectedly able to hear Jiu's thoughts, but they don't expose it. Worried that others might see Jiu as a monster, they need to protect Jiu. The brothers feel they have met too late. The two brothers are eager for hugs and kisses. The adorable little Jiu is having a great time. The tyrant appeared at the wrong time, breaking the warm scene of brotherly affection, even snatching the child from the teacher's arms. The teacher's face looked so bad. Who is the blind one that upset you? I will stand up for you. The tyrant is belittling himself. The blind one is you. The teacher feels. The main strategy is to create chaos with poison, and the minister just has an upset stomach. The tyrant scolded them to quickly find a doctor, and to also send away the annoying old 11. The two did not dare to disobey and retreated sadly, but in their hearts they were. For a long time, they could see their brother's reluctance. Pulled at the cheap father's sleeve. Father, the emperor, likes brother for a long time. Brother is just hungry, that's why his stomach hurts. I want to eat with brother. Together with brother for a meal. The great tyrant gladly agreed. Old 10 and old 11 were so excited they almost cried. But during the meal, the two were trembling. I don't dare to move at all. Quickly, the conjecture of Jiu. The brothers must be scared of cheap dad Jiu. I want to help the two brothers win cheap dad's favor. When the two brothers learned of Jiu's intentions, they felt warm inside. However, when Jiu looked at cheap dad, she found him staring intently at mom. That gaze is so untrustworthy. It's like a hungry wolf with lust. Jiu's inner thoughts overflowed. Everyone almost burst out laughing. Only the tyrant felt wronged, wondering how his wife became a wolf. Father, eat more. Then you won't look at mother so lecherously. The tyrant helplessly replied, thank you. The brat. Fuan just reported. The tyrant's most beloved and young county princess is kneeling outside begging for forgiveness. But he remains unmoved. Let her kneel if she wants to. It suddenly started raining outside, and young county princess is still kneeling. She keeps crying. Her small body trembles. It's pitiful. Those nearby felt pity in their hearts. The Duke and Duchess of Duan heard that their daughter had been kneeling in the palace for a long time. They hurriedly entered the palace to persuade her to get up. But Feng Kaiwei was like she was glued to the ground. She said she wouldn't get up until Huangbo forgave her. Her words revealed arrogance and a threat. Because she was afraid of losing her pampered life and glory. The tyrannical father tricked his 18th son into wearing a pretty little dress. Because he had 18 sons in one go, he desperately wanted a daughter. A eunuch rushed to inform the great tyrant that the Duke and Duchess of Duan wanted to take the imperial family's only daughter, Feng Kaiwei, home. The great tyrant's face darkened. He didn't say a word. No one knew what he was thinking. The Taoist priest muttered to himself. It's clearly that mischievous princess deliberately courting death. Even her adoptive father sent someone to send her back. The Duke and Duchess of Duan are so inconsiderate. Do they still intend to manipulate the emperor himself? The great tyrant saw that look, and let out a meaningful smile. Hey, you little rascal. You really understand my heart. After pondering for a moment, the tyrant ordered the family of the Duke to be sent out of the palace. From now on, Fei Zhao is not allowed to enter the palace at will. A show of royal authority. This is enough for the tyrant to brag in front of Jiu for a lifetime. On the other side, the eunuch hurriedly ran out. He conveyed the tyrant's imperial edict in a strained voice, sending the Prince Duan's family out of the palace. The few kneeling in the rain were instantly terrified. They didn't expect this ploy to be ineffective. Feng Kaiwei was unwilling to leave the palace. Once out of the palace, she would no longer be the high and mighty princess. She gritted her teeth and slammed her head into the lotus-planted water jar beside her. Fainted on the spot. The eunuch ran to report to the tyrant. The tyrant was furious. Who cares about someone else's daughter? I have my own princess. Jiu looked at Jiu with a strange expression, smiling in a slightly creepy way, almost scared the kid into winning himself. For the sake of the royal family's reputation, the tyrannical emperor can only allow Feng Kaiwei to recuperate in the palace. He really doesn't have time to deal with him, because he's busy with a very important matter. He's holding a pretty little yellow dress, chasing after the child all over the place. Jiu, such a pretty dress. Do you want to wear it? Jiu, don't wear it. Don't wear the carrier-based outfit. It's highly resistant to the tyrant. I have to pull out all the stops. Jiu, as long as you promise the emperor to wear this little skirt, you'll be rewarded with 500 taels. A series of bold moves from the Dao Jun left the eunuchs and the maids dumbfounded. The maid is also worried that Jiu will cry and throw a tantrum. As a result, Jiu stretched out her chubby little hands and grabbed the little dress. In her little head, the sound of jingling coins rang out. Hey, who would want to go against the little coins? She immediately agreed to wear the little dress. Jiu took the little dress from her tyrant father's hands and bounced happily to her room. Let Granny Gui help her get dressed. She also conveniently styled her hair into twin buns. Jiu, all dressed up, pushed open the door and went out. The moment the great tyrant turned his head, he was moved almost to tears. The little prince instantly transformed into a soft, milky little princess, so white and tender. One couldn't help but want to kiss her. The tyrant didn't disappoint his child. He immediately went forward and hugged the child. With a smack, he kissed the child's little face. He even declared that he would prepare more pretty little dresses for the child, as long as the child is willing. The conditions can be anything. Jiu has no conditions. Jiu really likes to dress like this. She wishes she could wear little dresses all the time. The tyrant was absolutely thrilled to hear this. With her hands raised, Jiu spun around crazily. At the same time, various rumors about the 18th prince dressing up in women's clothing spread through the palace. Even the two older prince brothers were worried about their younger brother's fragile heart being hurt. They were eager to help Jojo prove herself. But unexpectedly, Jojo outright refused them. It also means I can wear a little dress. Jojo is very happy. At this moment, Jojo remembers that something big will happen tomorrow. He asks his two older brothers to come find him tomorrow. The next day, the three little dogs are sneaking outside the alley. Today is the day the crown prince almost lost his life. It was the day he was under the feet of a mating elephant. Feng Kaiwei cleverly used a scheme to save his life before. Just because of this, the crown prince fell in love at first sight with him, completely devoted. But Feng Kaiwei doesn't love the crown prince at all. Jojo doesn't know that the two brothers have already heard his thoughts. He softly asks the two brothers, if someone is hurt by an elephant, would they save the person? The two nodded. Of course. Just then, the crown prince's palanquin arrived. No one dared to chat idly anymore. They all went out to greet him. Are you here to inspect the elephants today? It's to ensure that every elephant is in perfect condition on the day they are used. We need to bring glory to the Western Chu Kingdom. As a result, when we got to the last elephant during the inspection, the prince noticed something was off. The elephant trainer quickly warned the prince to keep his distance. This elephant is in heat. It's really agitated. Just as those words were spoken, the elephant suddenly broke free from its reins, charging towards the crown prince to attack. The crown prince is quite skilled, but he can't withstand an unexpected attack from an elephant. He was thrown to the ground in an instant, and the elephant wasn't done yet. It was ready to step on him. That scheming little princess finally went offline. The 10th prince reacted quickly. Directly used the banana that elephants love to lure the elephant away. The 11th prince quickly coordinated to save the person. Meanwhile, Jojo hid in the corner, silently cheering for her two brothers. But it seemed the elephant realized it was being tricked. Angry, it charged at the crown prince. To protect the crown prince, that small frame was struck hard by the elephant's trunk. Just looking at his back hurts. The crown prince vaguely learned that his 11th brother had saved him at the cost of his own life. Finally, the 10th prince used one move to subdue Pikachu, successfully putting the elephant into the large iron cage. Crown prince brother was saved. Jojo, hiding in the corner, finally breathed a sigh of relief. But Jojo was puzzled. How did Feng Kaiwei, that amazing person from the book, save the crown prince? He couldn't figure it out no matter how hard he tried. He saw Feng Kaiwei hiding in a nearby corner. Wasn't she here to cling to the crown prince's thigh? Yet she was watching from the sidelines. Someone who stands by and does nothing. Doesn't deserve the crown prince's affection at all. The woman in the Taoist scriptures who never married for the crown prince. Dressed as a man to go to battle and kill the enemy. Yuanian, the Miss Yu whose family was disgraced, captured, and humiliated by enemy forces while saving her crown prince brother, but never betrayed her country. She is the perfect match for the crown prince. Secretly, she vowed for a long time to help the crown prince find true love. Right now, she must first check on her brothers, especially 11th brother, who just got a trunk full of elephant. She went to check on her brother's injuries. She reached out and touched his back. As a result, a hand of watermelon juice caused the prince, who never knew he was squeamish about blood, to faint on the spot. On the other side, the prince was sent back to the Eastern Palace. After a diagnosis by the imperial physician, he was found to be fine. The prince slowly regained consciousness. The Bao Jun was overjoyed. He almost lost face in front of the prince's life in the underworld. Suddenly, the prince remembered that his rescuer, the 11th brother, was injured. He anxiously inquired about the situation. The Bao Jun looked surprised upon hearing this, because the version he'd heard was that Princess Anyang saved the crown prince. The several kneeling workers had clearly been bought off by Feng Kaiwei. They desperately testified for Feng Kaiwei, insisting that the crown prince had mistaken, and that it was truly Princess Anyang who saved him, although the crown prince vehemently denied it. The leading eunuch was relentless. He insisted that it was Princess Anyang who saved the crown prince. He even wanted to slander Princess Anyang. The tyrant was enraged. He directly had several bold lackeys dragged out and executed. They wanted to slander before the truth was clear. There must be something fishy behind this. Suddenly, eunuch Fuan hurried in to report to the emperor. Something's wrong, the Choshui army is in trouble. Princess 18 has fainted. The great tyrant heard this, and his expression immediately turned ugly. At this moment, the imperial doctor in Choshui County had already bandaged the 11th prince's wounds. Concubine Li was carefully noting the precautions. The great tyrant rushed to Choshui County, and immediately asked if his precious baby was hurt. The bloody Jojo woke up early. He was fine, it was just that his rescuers, the 10th prince and the 11th prince, were injured. He heard Jojo's thoughts. The tyrant understood everything. From then on, he allowed the 10th prince, the 11th prince, and the crown prince to interact more, to help him share the burdens. Seeing the relationship between his adoptive father and his two brothers improve, Jojo was so happy he nearly jumped 3 feet high. But I still can't help but curse that dog father in my heart. I can't see that wicked Feng Kaiwei right now. The great tyrant learns of Z's thoughts, his heart breaking into a million pieces. Could it be that in Z's heart, I am just a foolish emperor? Feng Kaiwei is certain at this moment that the act of desperately saving the crown prince will allow her to regain the emperor's favor. She even dreams of the crown prince being deeply in love with her. Little does she know that what awaits her is an imperial edict that will shatter her illusions. Princess Anyang falsely claimed credit for saving someone's life. The crime of deceiving the emperor. She should be executed, considering her many years of service to me, and her dutiful behavior. The death penalty can be waived, but she cannot escape punishment. Banish Princess Anyang. The princess's title is revoked. Marriage decree. Exiled from the palace. Feng Kaiwei was stunned upon hearing this. In an instant, she was dumbfounded. Jojo in women's clothing is so cute. Not only do the two royal brothers compete to kiss her, but even the crown prince dotes on her greatly. The crown prince is rushing to Kiashwaju to repay his 3 younger brothers for saving his life. The courtyard of Kiashwaju is incredibly lively. His 2 older brothers are chasing after Jojo to kiss him. No. Little Jojo is so tired. His little face is almost numb from all the kisses. He finally manages to escape his 2 older brothers' enthusiastic kisses. But she bumped right into the prince's knee. Her adorable appearance instantly charmed the prince, and the prince's handsome face completely captivated her. She couldn't help but think how handsome the prince was. The prince was immediately stunned. Little Joe's mouth didn't move, but he heard a voice. The adorably clueless Joe had a dazed expression. What happened, brother crown prince? After the crown prince confirmed that it was Jojo's heartfelt voice, he tried hard to calm himself down. He silently recited, existence is reasonable. Jojo in this outfit is simply too cute. The crown prince couldn't help but want to hug the 18th brother. Let brother crown prince give you a hug. Jojo doesn't want a hug. My crown prince brother has a wound. He paused, then said, and Jojo isn't my 18th brother. He's my 18th sister. Woohoo. Innocent words from a child. The crown prince quickly covered Jojo's small mouth. It's all the emperor's fault for making my good brother dress as a girl. It's made him confused about whether he's a boy or a girl. The crown prince patiently brainwashed Jojo. He's your 18th brother. Remember, you are a proper boy. Jojo feels frustrated. These days, no one believes the truth. Then the prince thanked his brothers for saving his life. He also swore to the heavens that he would protect them with his life in the future. As for this matter, may the heavens strike me down. At this moment, Jojo remembered a prince brother from the book, who was graceful and noble, dragged down by the wicked Feng Kaiwei. He didn't marry the Yujia young lady who loves him deeply. It's really a pity. The crown prince was so shocked his jaw almost dropped. The other two also expressed the same shocked reaction while watching online. Finally, the tyrant came to visit the adorable boy. Again, he came to Choshue to Wucha meal. By the way, he informed consortly, the empress, and consort Shu that they would return to the palace tomorrow. At last, I heard, instantly, a conspiracy. The favored concubine of my cheap father. It was her who caused my mother to be accused of treason. The villain is about to make an appearance. I wonder if my cheap father will punish her. Suddenly, I stared wide-eyed at my cheap father. My cheap father, feeling guilty, quickly changed the subject. Jojo finds the food unappetizing, thinking about how her mother and brother's names haven't been cleared yet. Jojo feels bitter inside. The fish-flavored shredded pork in front of her no longer seems fragrant. Her adoptive father Jianzai is so aggrieved he's about to cry. He immediately says he wants to take him to the imperial garden to catch butterflies. As soon as Zai hears this, he jumps up almost 3 feet high with joy. Her adoptive father affectionately pats Zai's little head. I thought to myself, after all, he is just a 5-year-old child. The father and daughter arrived at the imperial garden. The child ran ahead. The father chased behind. The scene was harmonious and warm, but the harmony lasted only 0.08 seconds. In a corner of the imperial garden, 2 clueless palace maids were gossiping recklessly. It is said that after the Empress Dowager returns to the palace, she will definitely send concubinely and the 18th prince back to the cold palace. And now, concubine Shu has returned to the palace. Naturally, the emperor will also forget about that mother and son. At this point, Jojo has completely lost the mood to play with her cheap father. Without looking back, she walks away, leaving her stunned cheap father once again dumbfounded. The hard-earned child just abandoned him like this. In a fit of anger, the tyrannical emperor ordered those 2 gossiping dog slaves to be dragged out. Their tongues will be cut out and fed to the dogs. Then they will be beaten to death with sticks. The Empress Dowager truly deserves her title as the champion of palace from the previous generation. She saw at a glance that Jojo is a super cute little princess. And after hearing Jojo's thoughts, she loved her even more. She directly made a certain daughter-loving person jealous to the point of madness. The next morning, the great tyrant welcomed the Empress Dowager back to the palace with the whole world. Because of the idle gossip in the imperial garden yesterday, Jojo was very nervous. She was afraid that the Empress Dowager wouldn't like her and her mother. Concubine Li quickly encouraged Jojo, saying that the Empress Dowager was very kind. It was she who had advocated for her to save her own life back then. The tyrant, turning his head, saw the little one's anxious look. He repeatedly comforted Jojo, saying how lovely she was. Your imperial grandmother will surely love her very much when she sees her. That's great. Jojo was so happy she almost jumped for joy. At this time, the Empress Dowager, accompanied by the Empress and the imperial concubine, approached the fire in a grand procession. The Empress Dowager had a dark face. She didn't seem to be in a good mood. Jojo was instantly flustered. During the time I was away from the palace, it seems a lot has happened. Upon hearing this voice, the tyrant hurriedly stepped forward and chatted casually with the Empress Dowager. He didn't forget to introduce the adorable Jojo to her. Jojo is disguised as a man at my behest. If you want to blame someone, blame your son. Li Fei and Jojo are both innocent. The Empress Dowager glanced at Jojo. Jojo was so scared she almost wet her diaper. Her heart was trembling. That Granny Huang is so fierce. Jojo is scared. The Empress Dowager frowned. She thought, is this how scary I am? The next moment, the Empress Dowager was so shocked that her dentures almost flew out. It was because she realized she had hurt Jojo's true feelings. He tried to adjust his emotions. He gave an awkward smile. He didn't intend to blame her, who just wanted to enjoy petting the adorable puppy. Then the Empress Dowager squatted down with a beaming smile, reached out to Jojo, wanted to hug the soft and cute little Jojo. Jojo carefully reached out in response. This soft and cute little Jojo instantly captured the Empress Dowager's heart. The sharp-eyed Empress Dowager saw at a glance that Jojo was a delicate little princess. Holding Jojo, she was overjoyed. She casually bestowed 2 large gold bracelets. Little money grubber Jojo's eyes sparkled. I most love Huang Mai Mai. The last time I saw this expression was when the tyrant rewarded me with 500 taels. The tyrant has fallen from favor. Father Emperor Jojo wants to call out cheap father and follow him, but sees that the wicked concubine Shu has already rushed over and is looking at the tyrant with amorous glances. Her eyes filled with, I miss you, I miss you. I really miss you. Who knew the tyrant would be so cold? He just responded that the family banquet is ready. Shu Fei, let's go together. Ing Luo couldn't wait to rush forward. She wanted to snatch her adorable cup back from her mother, with Grandma Huang backing her up. Jojo boldly approached her stepfather. At the family banquet, the Empress Dowager kept holding Jojo and wouldn't let go. She even personally fed Jojo all sorts of delicious food. The great tyrant's heart was filled with bitter jealousy. He could only occasionally ask his mother, Mother, aren't your arms tired from holding Jojo? The Empress Dowager rolled her eyes. Emperor, you've asked this question 10,000 times tonight. I'm not tired. The tyrant is feeling wronged. This concubine is starting to cause trouble again. She approaches to offer him a drink. Then she cuddles in his arms. Her words and actions all suggest that she hopes he will choose her tonight. Seeing this, he secretly thinks she's a bad influence. I can't stand her. My cheap father won't go to her. When will father be able to return to mother? Clearly, it was that concubine Shu who framed and wronged mother. The tyrannical ruler fell into deep thought after hearing the heartfelt words. Perhaps she really should investigate thoroughly. Investigate how concubine Shu set up concubine Li to avoid alarming the snake in the grass. The tyrannical ruler had no choice but to drink the wine from concubine Shu in one go. But concubine Shu also seemed to sense the ruler's unease. She doesn't get entangled. She stands up and invites her to her palace for some hangover soup. She decides to return to the palace first and wait for her. The tyrant finally came to his senses. He cleared the names of Jojo and her mother. The consort was thrilled and changed into a beautiful little belly band. She eagerly waited for the tyrant's grand arrival. But who would have thought? The girl hurriedly reported that the emperor went to Choshue with many rewards. Shu Fei was immediately furious. She started cursing without thinking. What exactly did that wretched Li Fei do? The secretary must have charmed the emperor away. He's just not satisfied. On his first day back at the palace, he lost faith. And the root cause is still the Li Fei he hates the most. The Shu Fei suddenly smashed the teacup in her hand. What is Li Fei even worth? Shu Fei was so angry she felt like grinding her back teeth. She regretted not being able to kill him with the treason charge last time. Meanwhile, the tyrant wanted to find an answer to his doubts. So he came to Shu Fei's palace. He didn't expect that as soon as he arrived at the door, he heard Shu Fei smashing things. She was cursing and saying things that left him in disbelief. The tyrant clenched his fists, suppressing the anger in his heart. He continued to listen to the consort's confession. Well now, everything is clear. The tyrant waved his hand, signaling Fuan to open the door. The door was opened. She walked in. There, the consort was still angrily cursing consortly. The maid kneeling on the ground saw the tyrannical emperor enter with his men. She hurriedly signaled to the noble consort, but the noble consort didn't understand at all. She even scolded the maid, showing her lack of awareness. What are you doing, you silly maid, making faces? I'm not the emperor. You can't seduce me. The maid whispered a warning. The Emperor has arrived. The tyrant stood behind Sophie with a dark face. The oppressive aura made it hard to breathe. Sophie was already breathing rapidly from the pressure. Her face lost its color. She was flustered and anxious. Kneeling on the ground, she stammered, "Your servant. Your humble servant pays respects to the Emperor. Your Majesty, when did you arrive?" He felt so anxious inside. He just wanted to know if the Emperor heard what he said earlier. If he did, it would be a disaster. The tyrant remained silent. He just glared fiercely at the Shu Fei. Shu Fei was just about to stand up. The tyrant kicked her hard on the shoulder. He also stated that he never hits women, but Shu Fei was truly so disgusting that she left him no choice. Shu Fei started crying right there. Then she put on a weak act. She said that she was just talking nonsense out of jealousy because she loved the tyrant too much. But the tyrant didn't believe her at all. He pushed her away fiercely. Then he summoned the 6 palaces. Concubine Shu scheming. The Empress Dowager stripped of her title. Sent to the cold palace. Concubine Li's treason was baseless. Today, the truth is revealed. Concubine Li is pardoned. As for the 13th prince, we need to find a good opportunity to release him. Otherwise, we can't silence the strict officials. Meanwhile, Concubine Li and Jojo were getting ready for bed. Suddenly, a stream of rewards was sent to their palace. The mother and daughter were utterly surprised. Concubine Li couldn't understand what had gotten into the tyrant. Why had he suddenly bestowed so many treasures? The little money lover Jojo stared at the treasures, eyes sparkling with excitement. After the eunuchs finished their offerings, the tyrant finally appeared. He looked at Consort Li. With a hint of guilt, he said to her, "I have wronged you these years. I heard with my own ears Shu Fei admitting she made you bear the charge of treason. I should have investigated her properly back then. I shouldn't have rashly cast you into the cold palace." A 5-year-old adorable child attends court for the first time. Just by giving the tyrant father a kiss, she directly saved the great general's life. The tyrant not only cleared the names of the 2 mothers, but also personally visited to apologize. The esteemed one, the Emperor, actually bowed his head to a woman. It inevitably made Jojo suspicious that her cheap father suddenly liked her mother. The great tyrant heard the child's inner thoughts and sighed inwardly. Little devil Li Fei shook his head. He thought, this silly child, what does he know about liking or not liking? Emperors don't have likes. Then he invited the great tyrant to go back to his own place to sleep. But the great tyrant wanted to stay the night with Joshua Jun. But the next second, he was rejected by Li Fei. The great tyrant instantly turned into a wounded puppy. Then forget it. I will wait until you are willing. I'm going back to sleep now. Jojo will come with me. Ing Luo picked up Jojo. Walking away with an indifferent stride, she left gracefully. Li Fei stood there, completely dumbfounded. Jojo couldn't help but curse her awful father in her heart. Unable to get her mother, he actually took me as a hostage. At such a young age, Jojo had to bear so much. The child felt wronged. Meanwhile, a certain daughter slave was amused by the child's interesting thoughts. The next day, Jojo woke up, rubbing her sleepy eyes. The tyrant declared he would take her to court. The little one couldn't help but feel a jolt in her heart. She even doubted whether she was imagining things at her young age. Immediately, the tyrant had lifted her off the bed. Striding confidently, he headed to court. She couldn't wait to tell everyone that she had a precious daughter. His daughter was the cutest and most adorable daughter in the world. The courtiers gazed at the little fairy for a long time. They all switched to flattery mode. Indeed, looks are everything. The court was filled with harmony, but it was interrupted by the arrival of a prisoner in shackles. The newcomer was Zhou Yi, General Zhou. The soldiers of the Western Chu state have suffered repeated defeats against the Southern Kingdom. An incompetent general brings disaster to the army. What punishment do you deserve? The tyrant is furious and plans to kill General Zhou. I really do not want to see General Zhou die. After all, General Zhou is a very capable general. His defeat in battle was not intentional. It's because the rebellion hasn't settled down yet. And also, he's been poisoned. He's being controlled. General Zhou is a pitiful man. His 3 sons and 1 daughter all died on the battlefield when his wife was captured by the Southern Kingdom. To prevent her from being dishonored, personally draw the bow and shoot it dead. After hearing Jojo's heartfelt words, the tyrant fell into deep thought. He was actually completely unaware of this. If it weren't for Jojo's reminder, he would probably have remained in the dark his entire life. The tyrant's expression gradually became grim, but the court officials thought the tyrant was abandoning the state. They also suffered consecutive defeats. There were treacherous thoughts of overthrowing the nation, so they all urged him to advise, let the tyrant kill him. General Zhou was soon pushed to the brink of death. Jojo was so anxious that he cursed the court officials for being worthless, not helping his father share the worries, but instead usurping him. If General Zhou is killed indiscriminately, it will chill the hearts of all the generals in the land. Then the destruction of Western Chu will be imminent. I truly hope that father will see clearly and understand General Zhou's loyalty and importance. Don't kill General Zhou. The tyrant heard my thoughts. And naturally, he sees clearly. He patted Jojo's little knees, indicating that he would handle state affairs properly. Then he ordered the Chancellor and the Chief Justice of Dali Temple to thoroughly investigate Zhou Ye's defeat. Yuan Yu also sent the head physician of the Imperial Hospital to treat him day and night. But Jojo, upon hearing that it was the head physician of the Imperial Hospital, felt a wave of disdain. That head physician of the Imperial Hospital is nothing but a good for nothing. He only knows gynecology. He doesn't understand ancient techniques. The tyrannical emperor took a deep breath. He added that he would send the vice to the main. He also needed to look after the concubines in the palace. At this moment, Jojo found that her cheap father finally understood her. She couldn't be happier. Even her gaze towards him was filled with affection. Finally, Jojo couldn't help herself. Hugging the cheap dad's big face, I took a deep breath. Not only is Jojo the lucky star of the tyrant, but also the savior of the entire Western Chu kingdom. Relying on Jojo's heartfelt voice, the tyrant successfully caught another actor. In the imperial study, the tyrant was extremely pleased. After all, General Zhou was saved. Jojo was happily smiling as she leaned on the great tyrant's shoulder during this time. Jojo deeply felt the great tyrant's pampering of her. Her confidence suddenly soared. She even dared to climb onto the great tyrant's head, and she recklessly tied up his hair. I must say, Jojo is quite skilled at tying bows. Previously, the black and white impermanence. Even the current tyrannical emperor has fallen victim to his cruelty. Seeing this, Fuan, who was standing near, hurriedly stepped forward to dissuade him. Your Highness, the 18th princess, you are compromising your dignity. But the tyrannical emperor simply loves Jojo like this. He's never had a child as close to him as Jojo before. This allows the tyrannical emperor to feel the joy of being an ordinary father. After playing for a while, Jojo, I suddenly thought of something. I can't help but feel uneasy. Why has General Zhou suffered so much, and endured so many hardships? Yet no one knows about it. Logically speaking, such a big event wouldn't just go unnoticed, even if General Zhou doesn't say anything. Jojo was pondering. If someone was deliberately keeping these messages from reaching the cheap dad's ears, they might want to use the cheap dad's hands to quietly eliminate General Zhou, this great hero. Upon hearing this inner voice, the tyrant suddenly understood. He immediately became alert. Jojo, you go back to your mother. I'll investigate this matter clearly. After checking, go take a look. As soon as Jojin heard it, he exclaimed that the emperor was powerful and majestic. Then, the tyrant secretly arrived at the general's residence. He needed to hear the situation from Joyi himself. Joyi hesitated a bit. Your Majesty, I must say that you might not believe it. Perhaps it's better not to say it. Whether you believe it or not depends on me. You said Joyi just spoke up. It's Qian Wenqin. Matters in my household. Matters in the military. All of them were intercepted by him and not reported. Last year when we fought against the Southern Kingdom, problems with supplies arose several times because of him. I suspect he is a Southern country actor. Another actor has come. The tyrant is furious. Zhou Yi believes that this attitude shows he doesn't trust him. After all, Qian Wenqin is viewed by everyone as a loyal minister who cares for the country and its people. Zhou Yi kneels on the ground and vows to find evidence, proving he is an actor. General Zhou, rest and recover at your manor. I will personally investigate the truth. After saying this, the tyrannical emperor returned to the palace and dispatched the blood drops to investigate. The blood drops did not disappoint. They found many secret letters from Qian Wenqin's home revealing his correspondence with the Southern Kingdom. After the tyrannical emperor read through each letter, his hands trembled in fear. What a Qian Wenqin, looking loyal and devoted. In reality, the Western Chu Kingdom has sold him out. The silver mine lost to the Southern Kingdom 2 years ago. General Wen, who died last year, and the 3,000 war horses. The supplies burned at the beginning of this year. And General Zhou Yi was almost killed. Behind it all, there are his manipulations, Qian Wenqin. There is a consort Wei in the harem. In the previous dynasty, there was a Qian Wenqin. How could the Western Chu not perish? To survive for another 10 years is all due to heaven's mercy. Thinking of this, the tyrant was furious. He ordered the entire Qian family to be executed, their heads to be cut off, and hung at the city gate alongside Wei Ping, awakening the world. Jojo is truly the great revival of the entire Western Chu. If it weren't for him, the Western Chu state would have been sold out. He is still counting money for others. The tyrant paused for a moment, and asked where Fu and Jojo is now. Reporting to your Majesty, the 18th princess is with the Crown Prince. After a while, envoys from the Southern Kingdom will come to the palace. What does the Crown Prince have to do with the reception? The princess is just joining in on the fun. At this moment, Jojo is being held by her big brother the Crown Prince, looking at the strategy. The 108 ways of foreign envoys. The pages are filled with dense text. Jojo is getting really sleepy from reading it. Zhao Er takes a sip of the invigorating tea. With the prince's call, Jojo instantly feels awake. Zhao Er is here with the prince. Jojo is reacting so much. Could it be that Zhao Er is also an actress? How spoiled is the father with his daughter? All because he heard that his daughter likes to play with medicine. He simply emptied the entire imperial medical office. He even personally participated and played along. The Crown Prince never imagined that his close attendant was actually a Southern Kingdom spy. With such an innocent-looking face, she turned out to be a wicked woman, Yuan Shu. Following the defeat of the Western Chu, he received the Southern Kingdom envoys. Zhao Er and the envoy colluded inside and out, poisoning the envoy. Feigning death, they took 5 cities from Western Chu. Although Western Chu won this time, Zhao will definitely poison someone again. Then she will slander Western Chu. Wouldn't this victory be in vain? No, we absolutely cannot let the territorial concessions and reparations go unresolved. Thinking of this, Jojo was so furious that she was fuming. The Crown Prince was also panicking. In a military confrontation, not killing the envoy is a rule that has been upheld for 1,000 years. If it really is as Jojo said, then the victories of the Western Chu will be endless. He can't even secure his position as the Crown Prince. I'm worried Zhao will pull some tricks in the countryside, so let's have him withdraw for now. We mustn't alert the enemy. Therefore, Zhao cannot be killed just yet. To prevent the Southern Nation's scheme from succeeding, the Crown Prince is racking his brains for a solution. In the end, he even considered drinking the poison himself. This intelligence is truly touching. Just thinking about dying without an antidote is awful. And the thought of not having achieved anything, married, and started a family. I haven't even met the young lady from the Yu family that Jojo mentioned. It's really frustrating. At this moment, Jojo's inner thoughts just happened to solve the prince's mindless plan. If I secretly find the antidote from the envoy, I can expose the other party's scheme. Shichu can turn passivity into initiative. Maybe they can even be made to cede more land and pay reparations. Jojo was overjoyed by her own cleverness. The Crown Prince, on the other hand, was almost brought to tears by his own foolishness. Jojo is truly too smart. She is really my great savior. Thinking of this, the Crown Prince Daji kissed Jojo's little face several times. Jojo was immediately kissed and scolded. I wonder what's wrong with Prince Brother. Poor me, my little face is suffering again. Jojo is worried that the prince won't be able to solve the issue of the poisoned envoy. So she came up with a plan herself. Although she was an orphan in her past life, she had learned Chinese medicine from the director of the orphanage. If Prince Brother can't find the antidote, she can provide it for him herself, developing the universal antidote. When he was tinkering with a pile of precious herbs in the yard, the tyrant had silently approached him from behind. He looked worried. Who is sick? Li Fei informed him that no one was sick. Jojo just suddenly wanted to play with these herbs. Upon hearing this, the tyrant immediately ordered the Imperial Medical Bureau to deliver all the herbs the princess needs. Make sure the princess has a great time. Then he came to Jojo's side and asked her indulgently, do you need help from your father? Jojo raised the pestle and handed it to the tyrant. It's too heavy. Father, add oil. The great tyrant, without a word, rolled up his sleeves and was about to start. Fuan quickly stopped him in fright. This invaluable body, let the old slave handle it. In the twinkling of an eye, the pestle in the great tyrant's hand was already whirling swiftly. A long, drawn-out exclamation of awe. Father, you are amazing. With the cooperation of the father and daughter, the universal antidote is finally complete. Joyfully, he jumps 3 feet high. He looks at the medicine in his hand, thinking to himself, this princess will eliminate all the evil in the world. Kill, kill, kill. The tyrant steps forward and picks up Jojin. All right, my princess. It's time to eat. The tyrant brought Jojo to the table. He set her down. He said, Princess, please take a seat. That sounded familiar. I heard it somewhere in my past life. Princess, please get in the car. Princess, please have some water. The princess should sleep, so much sleep. But no one has ever said that to her. For the first time in her life, someone is treating her like a princess. Jojo contentedly kissed the great tyrant. The great tyrant immediately smiled like a fool. Jojo kissed me again. So he busied himself around Jojo with even more enthusiasm. Princess, please use your chopsticks. The princess, please hold the bowl. The princess, please open your mouth. In the repeated calls of princess, Jojo lost herself. Li Fei watched the loving scene between the father and daughter, and couldn't help but smile. The 3 of them looked so harmonious and happy. I wonder who in the harem will become a lemon essence again. The usually imposing tyrant. Ever since the lovely little princess arrived, she has truly been treasured like a precious gem. Wherever she goes, she shows off. On this day, the envoy from the Southern Nation came to pay their respects. The palace prepared a grand feast. The tyrant surprisingly ignored everyone's objections, and insisted on attending. The envoy from the Southern Nation stepped forward to clarify their intentions, claiming the reason for this conversation. To show sincerity, I must raise a cup to the great tyrant. The great tyrant, however, lifted his teacup and responded with authority, I now have a precious daughter. My daughter does not like the taste of alcohol. I shall use tea instead of wine. This action not only flaunted the happiness of having a daughter, but also firmly established a show of strength against the southern nation. However, just at this tense moment, an accident happened. The leader among the envoys suddenly collapsed to the ground. His lips turned black. He was spitting black blood. It was clearly a sign of poisoning. The envoys from the south erupted in chaos. They started to make a scene. They accused the Western Chu of poisoning and claimed they would seek justice from the Supreme Alliance. The tyrant instantly panicked. He questioned the prince about what was happening, but the prince was confident and assured the tyrant to relax. He would handle this matter. Jojo was very observant, seeing what the prince held in his hand, and his confident reaction. She guessed that her brother the prince must have found the antidote. Prepared to expose the self-directed play of the opponent, the tyrant understood Jojo's heartfelt words. He got the hint, and those royal relatives hearing Jojo's words for the first time were left in shock, dumbfounded. The crown prince looked at several envoys in a bustling market, saying, "We people of the Western Chu are open about winning and losing. We will never gamble. If the envoys want to invite the Supreme Alliance to mediate for you, then please do so." The Supreme Alliance arrived quickly. The southern envoy's eyes lit up. He hurriedly stepped forward and cried, "My lord, you must uphold justice for us. The Western Chu royal family is unprincipled. They poisoned us." Lu Jing, the Supreme Alliance's chief official, confirmed the southern envoys. Poisoning and looked at the great tyrant. "The murderer must be from your Western Chu royal family. Do you have anything else to say?" The envoy from the southern kingdom is also joining in. "They must pay a heavy price for this." "What price?" The crown prince sneered. "What price?" The envoy from the southern kingdom is quite arrogant. They not only want to cancel the land and reparations, she still wanted the great tyrant to publicly apologize. Lu Jing thought this handling method was quite reasonable, so she had the great tyrant agree. The great tyrant was amused by anger. He hugged Jojo and stood up. "A bunch of you from the southern kingdom poisoned yourselves, then slandered my Western Chu. Your goal was to cover up your defeat, but they don't want to see land and pay reparations." Exactly. For a long time, the voice was softened. The source of the voice is the tyrant father. The envoy from the southern nation instantly felt a chill on his scalp. "Do you have any evidence?" The crown prince took out the antidote he had been holding tightly. He showed it to everyone. It is estimated that in the place where the southern kingdom's envoy settled, the antidote for the poison among the envoys was found. The southern kingdom's envoy firmly insisted that the porcelain bottle was not theirs, nor was the antidote. The crown prince had already guessed that the other party would not easily admit it, so he had the imperial physician come forward to examine it. The imperial physician, with his 80 years of training, sniffed it with his keen nose, and immediately recognized it as an antidote for a poison called red thorn. This poison is exclusive to the southern royal family. Outsiders cannot formulate it, much less refine an antidote. The crown prince decisively gave it to Lu Jing, the official of the alliance. Lu Jing personally administered the antidote to the poisoned southern envoy. The antidote's effect was potent. In less than a second, the southern envoy regained consciousness. Lu Jing was astonished at the sight. It truly is the antidote. He turned to the envoy. He sternly questioned the envoy from the southern kingdom about their slander against the Western Chu. The envoy instantly dared not refute. Under the forbidden technique, he knelt down to confess and beg for mercy. Due to the southern kingdom's shamelessness, framing and scheming, the amount they originally needed to cede land and pay reparations has now doubled. The matter was resolved satisfactorily. I couldn't help but give Prince Brother a thumbs up. Prince Brother did great. Because Jojo is so cute, everyone is eager to be his father. Unexpectedly, his biological father knocked over the age of vinegar from 1982 on the spot. The treasury of Shichu gained a significant wealth. The tyrant was very pleased. He ordered to reward everyone. The crown prince was overjoyed. Holding little fortune star Jojo, he couldn't help but shower it with affection. However, this overwhelming love made little Jojo feel a bit breathless. The tyrant watched all of this unfold. Jealousy surged within him in an instant. "Crown prince, hurry and investigate. Find the one who poisoned me." The crown prince looked completely bewildered. "What else can I say? I've been waiting for you for so long. You have already reported it to the police. Tell me." He couldn't wait to take the child back, and he instructed the crown prince to investigate the spies from the southern country thoroughly. The crown prince had no choice but to obey. The tyrant who reclaimed the child revealed a long-lost fatherly smile. He frantically patted the child's little head. In his heart, he thought no one is allowed to take him away. Little did they know, those imperial relatives could no longer contain themselves and were already plotting against Jojo again. Prince Ning was the first to speak up, requesting the great tyrant's permission to take Jojo back to his manor to raise for a while. "This is unbearable." Jojo was filled with anger. "Do they all treat me like a monkey to be put on display?" Clearly hearing Jojo's rejection, everyone pretended not to hear. They even started showering her with flattery. "The princess is so cute. I really want to be kissed, hugged, and held high." Jojo desperately clung to the tyrant's clothes, afraid that the next second she would be given away to another family to be treated like a monkey. Jojo won't go. Jojo cannot be without her imperial mother and her cheap father. Knowing Jojo's feelings, the tyrant, who is even smaller than the princess, refused Ning Wang on the grounds that it was unsuitable to go out. But Ning Wang wouldn't give up. The princess is 5 years old. She can eat, drink, run, and jump. The tyrant is anxious. He blurts out that it's not possible. The princess is still drinking milk. The king of the underworld is still not giving up. He suggests bringing the wet nurse back as well. The king of the underworld is truly relentless. "Your imperial brother can keep the Duan Wang's daughter in the palace. So why can't I, your imperial majesty, take her away? Your highness, you're being hypocritical." The great tyrant, upon hearing, turned ashen-faced. The underworld princess gave the Qin Wang a sharp look, immediately kneeling to beg for forgiveness, earnestly pleading with her imperial brother to consider her devotion to the princess. Let him go. Unrestrained talk. The tyrant was silent for quite a while. Then he finally spoke up. Seeing the atmosphere turn a bit stiff, the Empress Dowager stepped in to smooth things over. The tyrant was angry. The Empress Dowager had the final say. Indeed, no one dared to fight anymore. The atmosphere gradually eased a bit, until the 80-year-old Prince Su spoke up, asking the tyrant for the priceless. He is a rare treasure. It takes decades to produce one, specifically used to adorn the Empress's phoenix crown. Prince Su actually dared to covet the Empress's possession. The Empress was quite displeased. She questioned him on the purpose of wanting the. Prince Suqin hesitated, and didn't dare to tell the truth. But Jojo knew that he was just brought in as a 14-year-old concubine. That concubine relied on her youth and beauty, and caused a lot of trouble. The stars in the sky would almost want an 80-year-old man to pick them for her, not worrying about him hurting his back. Hearing Jojo's heartfelt words, the Empress and the royal relatives were instantly taken aback. Even the tyrant couldn't help but cough. When Su Jingwang heard Jojo's heartfelt words, he was somewhat surprised, but still stubbornly persisted. He relied on his seniority, and insisted on punishing Gongju. Jojo clenched her little fists. "I just hope father doesn't agree. Otherwise, the Empress Dowager will be ridiculed. She might suffer a stroke in anger and become paralyzed. Her life would be in danger." Hearing the news of Jojo's birth, everyone was shocked, speechless. For the sake of the Empress Dowager's health, they all stepped forward to urge the great tyrant to reconsider. Prince Suqi saw this, and threatened to die for it. If he didn't get it, he would smash his head against that pillar. The tyrant was so furious that he was somewhat at a loss. He looked at the child in his arms. hoping he would find a way to resolve it. Clearly, Jojo's heartfelt voice could foresee the future, but that stubborn old dang just wouldn't believe it. I never expected that tragedy would happen like this. At this moment, Jojo was so hungry that her stomach was growling. Seeing this, the tyrant quickly brought the exquisite pastries in front of Jojo. As Jojo ate the pastries, she couldn't help but curse Prince Su, that old lecher. He will eventually bring harm to his 7 sons. Prince Suqing didn't care at all. He thought Jojo was just rambling. Grandpa Suqing, you want the East Pearl, right? Jojo asked in a childish voice. Yes, yes. Prince Suqing nodded. My father can also give you the East Pearl. It just needs some time. I don't know if you can wait. I can wait, I can wait. Suqing looked at the tyrant with a smile in her eyes. Your Majesty, is what the princess said true? The tyrant instantly understood. He realized that Jojo was helping him by time, so he readily agreed. I also don't want to see the young emperor die in front of me. A mere Eastern Pearl, I will give it to him. In 20 years, I will definitely send it to Prince Su. Upon hearing this, Prince Su almost spat blood in anger and died. But who told him to say such things? With no other choice, he could only furiously take his leave. Jojo is still worried about this love-struck old lantern. That concubine is clearly a troublemaker. In a couple of days, she will cause the death of one of his sons. It's obvious that the old lamp master doesn't listen to advice. He stubbornly refuses to believe it. A few days later, as expected, Prince Su experienced the pain of losing a child. The Shitsi accidentally drowned. The Shitsi had evidence of the concubine drugging Prince Su, so he was tragically murdered. That concubine, Kaixia, was ambitious, and foolishly attempted to bear the only son for the 80-year-old Prince Su. She even planned to eliminate all his sons, and the poor Prince Su was completely unaware. An old man, immersed in the grief of losing his son, finally regained consciousness. He suddenly remembered Jojo's words, that the concubine was a wicked woman, who would kill her own son. He was instantly struck as if by lightning. He shivered. He immediately went to the palace to find Jojo, to ask for clarification. At that moment, Jojo was busy building a wooden house for her beloved little koi, and Lao Dang was hesitating in the corner. He regretted not listening to Jojo earlier. At the moment Jojo turned around, I found the dog's fragments. He didn't expect that old man to run away in such a hurry. Inside, the silly Jojo was instantly dumbfounded. She was really puzzled. Jojo doesn't eat people. Why did that old man run? Could it be that the old man thought chasing after a 5-year-old child would make him lose all his face and flee in disgrace? However, this old dang's act of fleeing deeply hurt the young heart of Jojo. It made him doubt whether it was because Jojo looked fierce. Even Grandpa Suqing was scared to the point of running away. Li Fei was suddenly left speechless. At that moment, the great tyrant suddenly appeared. Picking up the adorable Jojo, he explained that Suqing had urgent business. Let's go home and deal with it. Jojo is no longer entangled. With a look of bliss, she nestled against the cheap dad, feeling his warm breath. Can't help but say, Father, hello. Fragrant, Jojo also wants to be fragrant. The tyrant, upon hearing this, without saying a word, ordered that the emperor's exclusive submersible box be given to Jojo. Fu Wen first expressed his congratulations. Then he was happy for Jojo, enjoying the treatment of an emperor with the status of a princess. This is truly unprecedented in history. The tyrannical emperor glanced over coldly. What are you grinning about? Hurry up. I'll go right away. The tyrannical emperor would gladly give the whole world to his beloved daughter. Jojo doesn't want anything else for now, but she'll make her cheap father bleed sooner or later. He. Today's Jojo is cold, profound, overbearing. Sunglasses on. Nobody's darling. Meanwhile, Empress Jiang and Consort Qing are envious of Jojo and her mother's favor. The two of them began to team up again. They attempted to bring the 3-year-old Princess Annel into the palace, to replace Jojo in the tyrant's heart, so that Consort Li would lose favor and return to the cold palace. He's angry. The tyrant is angry, all because of a 3-year-old girl who said his beloved Jojo is an ugly monster. That day, Jojo eagerly awaited her cheap father, but after a long time, she didn't see him. Her little face drooped. Disappointedly, she asked her mother if her father wasn't coming today. Li Fei smiled and coaxed her, saying he would come. Your father wouldn't break his promise. Jojo heard this, and immediately cheered up again, still making bold remarks, waiting for Father Emperor to come. He'll have to punish him by telling me 2 stories. Just as I was saying this, a palace maid came to report that the 18th princess invited you to the imperial garden. My eyes lit up. I thought, could dear father be preparing some surprise? So I grabbed my mother and happily skipped towards the imperial garden. When I got there and took a look, the tyrant is not far away, talking to Princess Annel. His expression is quite unpleasant. Concubine Li was about to take Jojo over, but she was stopped by Concubine Jiang. Concubine Jiang deliberately arranged this grand show to let Concubine Li and Jojo witness her fall from favor. She provocatively approached Princess Annel, claiming she would steal the emperor's affection for Jojo. You mother and daughter can just wait to roll back to the cold palace. That was really cutting. Li Fei was so flustered inside. It wasn't that he was afraid of losing favor. Mainly, he couldn't bear to see Jojo suffer again in that cold palace. Jojo held Li Fei's hand and said, Don't worry, Mom. Jojo won't lose favor. Then she looked at Consort Jiang as if she were an idiot, thinking that Consort Jiang really had some nerve. Anyone dares to bring into the palace. They don't even check the background of this Princess Annel. Princess Annel is the daughter of Princess Qing, and Princess Qing is the sworn enemy of my adoptive father. Jiang Guifei is just waiting to be punished. After the 10th and 11th princes heard the heartfelt words, they suddenly felt more confident. They faced Jiang Guifei and addressed her as Your Highness. Please speak and act with caution. Your Highness, the noble consort. You must still be half asleep. Talking nonsense. Noble consort Jiang was so angry her face turned green. She took a breath. The Annel princess is about to be favored. Don't think too highly of yourselves. The words had just left his mouth when a furious roar echoed in everyone's ears. Get out. All of you, get out of the palace. Don't let me see your faces again. That ungrateful Annel County princess. She dares to insult me. That ugly creature is nowhere near as beautiful. Imperial uncle, you must spoil me more. The tyrant listened to these words, and became extremely angry. He immediately ordered 50 slaps for Princess Annel. Princess Annel was so frightened that she fell to her knees and begged for mercy. The tyrant's expression was very grim. He instructed Fu Wan to find out who was foolish enough to do this. Soon, Fu Wan had news. The emperor was summoned to the palace by Consort Jiang for a discussion. The tyrant immediately understood Jiang Guifei's wicked intentions. Without hesitation, he sentenced her to a lifelong confinement in the cold palace. At this moment, the great Taoist saw Jojo nearby. The mother and daughter happily ran over to pick up Jojo. Jojo, are you here to see Father Emperor? Jojo acted spoiled. Father Emperor, Jojo misses you so much. Meanwhile, the dragged away Jiang Guifei was already terrified, her face pale, shouting out in grievances. The tyrant couldn't be bothered to pay attention to him. He signaled the imperial guards to quickly take the person away. Qingfei was hiding in a corner of the imperial garden, watching with a smile as consort Jiang was taken away. She even mocked her for being big-chested and brainless. The tyrant calmed his emotions a bit, and looked at Jojo in his arms. He was concerned whether she was scared. Jojo smiled and said that father was here. Jojo wasn't afraid of anything, but the next second, the little girl's face fell. She worried about her mother. It's a pity that her cheap father didn't know about her mother's anxiety. After the great tyrant heard Jojo's thoughts, I feel so heartbroken. Pulling Li Fei into her embrace, gently comforting him. You were scared, weren't you? Don't worry, I will always protect you. Li Fei felt a warmth in his heart, so moved that he couldn't speak. Jojo was overjoyed. I couldn't help but praise him in my heart. Cheap Dad is really awesome. Today, Cheap Dad has an aura of 3.8 meters. Such a harmonious and loving back view of the family of three. Makes a certain lemon essence start to stir again. Other princes might just have a bowl of longevity noodles for their birthday, but the little princess's birthday is celebrated with a gathering of ministers. Just because the tyrant is a complete daughter slave. The story of the tyrant punishing himself to reduce Jojo's punishment by a month made Jojo extremely happy. Great. Just then, a sudden commotion erupted outside. A shout for help broke the cheerful atmosphere. Fu Wen hurriedly went out to check. He saw that the visitors were King Suqing and his third son. It turned out that King Suqing was carried into the palace unconscious. The great tyrant was worried about scaring Jojo. He quickly calmed him down before going out to investigate. It turned out that King Suqing's second son had died unexpectedly half an hour ago. He fainted on the spot. Before losing consciousness, he instructed that Princess Jojo must be found. Then King Suqing slowly regained consciousness. I beg to see Princess Jojo. The tyrant saw this. He guessed that Prince Suqing probably heard Jojo's voice. He believed that Jojo had the ability to foresee the future. That's why he hurried to seek help. But the tyrant didn't want outsiders to know about Jojo's voice. He met with Prince Suqing alone. He asked him to swear not to disclose it. After a long time, he will help him get rid of the concubine. Although Prince Su was reluctant to part with his concubine to protect his sons, he painfully nodded in agreement. Finally, with the assistance of the tyrannical emperor's imperial guards, the concubine and her accomplices were all eliminated. The prince's mansion returned to its former tranquility, and Jojo has become the living bodhisattva in the heart of Prince Su. My son caught a cold and has a cough. Please, Jojo, my son lost a fight to the neighbor's ergo. Please, Jojo, my son got beaten up by the madam. Is it Jojo's ears are almost deafened. He cried and hid in the arms of the great tyrant. The baby feels so distressed. Who can manage the Purge King? That old man comes to the palace every now and then to nag me about his family's trivial matters. Jojo, don't listen. Don't let the tyrant hear it. After hearing Jojo's thoughts, without a second thought, an order was issued to prohibit the Purge King from entering the palace to see Jojo. When Jojo heard this, overjoyed, Jojo, your birthday. Father Emperor is preparing a grand celebration for you. Jojo was instantly excited, her eyes shining bright. Will everyone come to the palace to celebrate for Jojo? The tyrant was delighted to see Jojo so happy. He felt joyful as well. But little did he know, Jojo was actually thinking about the crown prince's marriage. Jojo thought, if everyone entered the palace, then the crown prince's perfect match, and Wan Yin, would appear. I really hope Father Emperor will bestow Yuaniing upon the crown prince in marriage. The tyrannical emperor heard the name Yuaniing, and felt it sounded familiar, but couldn't remember whose minister's daughter she was. So he simply entrusted Jojo's birthday banquet to the crown prince to manage. Jojo is eagerly looking forward to the birthday banquet. They are thinking about what gifts everyone will bring. It would be great if there are more snacks from outside. They haven't really eaten special snacks in their past life. Hearing this heartfelt wish, the tyrant felt a pang of pain. It felt like something had fiercely tugged at their heart. They wished they could send all the chefs in the royal kitchen to learn how to make delicious snacks. Things like candied haws, glutinous rice cakes, sugar-coated gourds. Jojo, upon hearing this, drooled uncontrollably. Seeing this, Li Fei laughed and advised the tyrant not to spoil Jojo. The tyrant looked at the adorable Jojo in his arms, and said with a doting expression, Jojo is my daughter. If I don't spoil her, who will? Jojo's heart warmed. She couldn't help but pinch the great tyrant's face. In a blink of an eye, Jojo's birthday banquet arrived. That day, Li Fei dug Jojo out of bed early in the morning. She was washed and dressed. The little girl was originally extremely sleepy, but after seeing herself in the mirror, her sleepiness instantly vanished. In shock, unable to speak for a while. Who is this little fairy? How can she be so beautiful? She's mad, she's mad. The consequences of a 5-year-old little cutie getting angry are serious. She directly threw the arrogant princess out of the palace. It's all because she bullied her little cousin Jojo. The little birthday star is a bit narcissistic. He kept praising himself for being beautiful in his heart. Even when making a funny face, he thought he looked incredibly good. Li Fei was amused by Jojo's proud inner thoughts, and reminded him it was time to head to the birthday banquet. Mother looks so beautiful today. She's a fairy. Jojo looked at his dignified and beautiful mother today, with his eyes wide open at old Yuan. The mother and daughter quickly arrived at the Berlin hall where the banquet was held. It was still early before the banquet started. Jojo couldn't bear to let her beautiful mother wait here. She had to hide her away. Only then could she amaze everyone later. So Jojo acted cute. She urged Li Fei to go to the nearby tea house for some tea. Li Fei also happened to feel thirsty. Just nodded in agreement. Before leaving, they reminded Jojo not to run around. Jojo patted his chest and assured them it would be fine. I'm going to find my brothers. In the blink of an eye, Jojo was bouncing around the Dellen hall like a firecracker. Actually, he was looking for Yuaniing, but he couldn't find her in the shop. He planned to go out and look for. As soon as he stepped out of the great hall, he saw that Feng Kaiwei was bullying someone again not far away. He saw him push a little girl, who was about the same size as him, to the ground. He even kicked her several times harshly. His mouth was still spewing insults. Jojo recognized at a glance that the little girl on the ground was his cousin, Nan Yuanxiang. Jojo shouted at him to stop. Then, she rushed over like a gust of wind. This Feng Kaiwei is too much. How dare she bully my cousin right under my nose? Jojo spread her arms to protect her cousin behind her. Don't be afraid, Yuanxiang. I'm here to protect you. Feng Kaiwei was puzzled. Why is Jojo meddling again? Jojo shouted at her, how dare you bully this princess's little cousin, Feng. Feng Kaiwei burst into laughter upon hearing this. She mocked Yuanxiang as a pitiful girl unloved by her parents. She even suspected that Jojo was talking nonsense to save someone. Jojo retorted fiercely, I'm young, but not stupid. I would not recognize my own relative. Then she warned Feng Kaiwei not to bully Yuanxiang again. Otherwise, she'll make her regret it. But Feng Kaiwei didn't take it seriously at all. Jojo scolded Feng Kaiwei fiercely. Apologized to Yuanxiang. Feng Kaiwei stubbornly retorted that she was the one who provoked me first. Why should I apologize? Yuan Xiang quickly explained that she didn't provoke her. Jiu knew that it was Feng Kaiwei who was the first to complain. She wouldn't let it go. If she doesn't apologize, I'll have the emperor throw you out of the palace. Feng Kaiwei refuses. This is challenging Jiu's bottom line. Jiu shouts, someone. A group of people behind Jiu quickly step forward and wait. Jiu points at Feng Kaiwei and orders. Feng Kaiwei, inexplicably assaulted my younger cousin. Very malicious. Quickly throw him out of the palace for this princess. Several imperial guards rushed forward. Just like picking up a chick. They lifted Feng Kaiwei up and sent her outside the palace. Lin Xiang smiled and thanked Jiu for the help. On the other side, the banquet was about to start. The Empress Dowager has arrived, but the birthday boy hasn't appeared yet. The great tyrant immediately sent Fuan to find concubine Li and Jiu. Just then, the Prince Duan and his wife burst into the hall, weeping. Imperial brother, Empress Dowager, please help us. The Empress Dowager was completely bewildered. What happened? Prince Duan, aggressively, I dare ask my imperial brother and imperial mother, if someone forcibly throws my daughter, Feng Kaiwei, out of the palace, what crime would that be? A 5-year-old adorable child sweeps through the imperial palace, not only able to manage the little green tea, but also able to act as a little matchmaker. Without him, this family would have fallen apart long ago. Prince Duan is twisting the truth. He claims that the 18th princess was unreasonable, because she didn't like his daughter, Feng Kaiwei, so she threw her out of the palace. Upon hearing this, the great tyrant, his face darkened, and he questioned Prince Duan. Is it true that you threw someone out of the palace simply because you didn't like her? Many ministers who didn't know the full story spoke up for Prince Duan. Duan Wang is even more confident in asking the great tyrant to punish Jiu. The great tyrant thinks you resemble Duan Wang. He speaks of punishment right away. Have you clarified the course of events? Compared to Duan Wang's one-sided account, he trusts his own son more. So he ordered someone to bring Jiu. Moments later, the eunuch returned with Jiu. Jiu was seen supporting the limping man Yuan Xiang as they entered together. Those around felt pity for him. The attacker was so vicious. They crippled his legs. Prince Duan nervously cleared his throat. He spoke, Imperial brother. Since the princess has arrived, please punish her severely. The tyrannical emperor glared at Prince Duan, turning to ask Duke Duan, you said that you drove Feng Kaiwei out of the palace for no reason. Is that true? Jiu looked at Duke Duan's annoying face. She couldn't help but mutter in her heart, who would intentionally drive his daughter Feng Kaiwei away? That's just asking for trouble. Jiu protected Yuan Xiang behind her. With red eyes, she timidly said, Father, look at cousin Yuan Xiang. Jiu witnessed Feng Kaiwei and her maid attacking her cousin for no reason. The imperial physician nearby really couldn't bear to watch. He added, Your Majesty, Miss Nan's injuries are severe. She has injured her bones. If it weren't for the 18th princess's rescue, she might have suffered worse. The tyrant was furious upon hearing this. He immediately flew into a rage. He directly punished Prince Duan by deducting a year's salary. He also ordered him to quickly go back and reflect in solitude. Jiu was very satisfied with his handling of the situation. In his heart, he exclaimed that his father was mighty. The matter was perfectly resolved. The birthday banquet for Jiu began. Many ministers and concubines sent birthday gifts to Jiu. Jiu looked at the pile of gifts in front of her, which looked like a small mountain. Her eyes widened in surprise. It wasn't until her cheap father asked her, Where is your mother? That she finally came to her senses. Her heart skipped a beat. Oh no, I actually forgot about mother. At that moment, concubine Li slowly walked out. She is especially dignified and graceful today. Even the tyrant was taken aback. He hurried over. Smiling, he said, Li Fei, your family has been accused of treason. But now the truth is clear. Your father and brothers have been reinstated. Soon, your family will be reunited. Li Fei was so excited that he almost lost his composure and cried. The clever little Jiu reminded her mother. Today is a day of great joy. You should smile. Li Fei nodded with a smile. Yes, it is a day of great joy. The tyrant looked at the radiant smiles on Li Fei and Jiu's faces. He suddenly felt that nothing in the world compared to this smile. The banquet is lively right now. Jiu heard the eunuch report to the crown prince that Yuanying was climbing a tree in the imperial garden to spy on a man outside. Jiu suddenly remembered that someone in the book had intentionally framed Yuanying, causing the crown prince to misunderstand her. Jiu did not want the crown prince to be misled by bad people again, so she quickly followed after him. Crown prince, Jiu wants to go with you. The crown prince led Jiu towards the imperial garden. When they arrived, Yuanying was still in the tree. From below, Yuanying really did look like she was climbing a tree to spy on a strange man. But actually, she was holding a bird and trying to return it to its nest. Your Highness, the Crown Prince, you have finally arrived in Lanyuan Township. Sister Shushun and Baolin has come before the Crown Prince. This humble daughter requests your presence. It is because Miss Yu was peeking at a foreign man, which is inappropriate. I asked the Crown Prince to punish her severely. Meanwhile, Yuanying, who was in the tree, saw the Crown Prince she has admired since childhood. Her heart raced. She slipped on her feet. I fell straight from the tree. At that critical moment, the Crown Prince stretched out his arms, steadily catching Yuanying. Yuanying fell straight into the Crown Prince's arms. Jiu watched from the side, secretly thinking, wow, was he? Meanwhile, someone nearby was so angry their eyes turned red. This was their first meeting. The Crown Prince just wanted to touch his future bride's face, but he ended up scaring her away. Just now, the Crown Prince saved Yuanying. She felt nothing but gratitude towards him. But as soon as she saw the Crown Prince, whom she had admired since childhood, I was so excited that I couldn't even speak properly. It actually allowed the scheming girlfriend, Ji Ku, to slander him for peeping at other men without any sense of propriety. Nijo, who was nearby, overheard it. She was so anxious that she stomped her feet. In her heart, she kept praying that the prince wouldn't be deceived by the evil person, that he wouldn't wrong Miss Yu. Just then, the prince also wanted to hear what Miss Yu had to say. As a result, Yuanying hesitated for a long time. He didn't explain anything. Jiu understood in her heart. He is shy because he has seen his crush. He couldn't say a word. Jiu hopes the Crown Prince will believe him. The Crown Prince heard Jiu's thoughts. He understood in his heart. Not only did he not think Yuanying was guilty, I actually find her cautious manner in front of me rather cute. The Crown Prince stepped forward. He softly said to Yuanying, Miss Yu, don't worry. As long as you tell me what happened, your life will be spared. Yuanying, upon hearing this, was overjoyed. She then softly explained, just now, I saw an injured baby bird. I want to help him return to the nest. I just climbed up the tree. The prince, upon hearing, couldn't help but softly praise him. He complimented Miss Yu for her kind heart. Xianjing looked on from the side, jealous and jumped out to pick a fight. Everyone saw you spying. What evidence do you have to prove that what you said is true? Fuming for a long time, wondering in my heart why you're everywhere. So he spread his small arms to protect his brother and sister-in-law behind him. I saw it. I saw Miss Yu holding an injured little bird. The scheming girl still wouldn't let it go. She even questioned Jojo's vision. Seeing the scheming woman bullying Jojo, the prince was instantly enraged. He immediately ordered his men to drag the scheming woman away and have her slapped 50 times. That solved a big problem. Jojo could finally relax and enjoy her sweet time. Jojo tugged at the prince's sleeve and said coquettishly, "Prince brother, I really miss you. Could I stay with her a little longer?" The crown prince smiled indulgently. Of course. The crown prince turned and invited Yuaning back to the banquet hall. Yuaning readily agreed. The crown prince scooped up Jojo and walked ahead. Yuaning quietly followed behind. Jojo admired Yuan Ying's stunning beauty up close. A bold idea sprouted in her heart. I really want to touch her face. As soon as that thought came to mind, my little hand reached out involuntarily. Yuan Ying saw Jojo's outstretched hand and thought Jojo was asking her for a birthday gift. So she took her favorite hairpin from her hair and handed it to Jojo, and mentioned that there would be many more gifts in the shop later. Jojo was momentarily stunned. I'm so upset. That beautiful sister misunderstood me. If I explained that I wanted to touch her face, wouldn't it look like I'm trying to take advantage of a beautiful woman? The prince heard my inner turmoil. He decided to step in. He leaned into Yuaning's ear and whispered, he wanted to touch your face. Yuaning listened. Her face had turned as red as a big apple. She was so nervous that her throat felt tight. The crown prince clearly wants to touch my face. This might not be appropriate. The crown prince heard Yuaning's words and felt very awkward. He immediately corrected her, saying it was Jojo who wanted to touch her face. Well, that's that. Yuaning was so embarrassed that she wanted to disappear. She didn't even dare to look. The crown prince bit his lip and said, I'm sorry. My father is still waiting inside. The subject will take her leave first. Enluo ran away. Jojo watched Yuaning run far away, looking completely bewildered. Prince brother, what did you say to scare him away? The prince smiled nervously and said he wanted to touch his face. Then he ran away. After a long time, I felt a sudden pang in my heart. The beautiful sister must hate me now. I wanted to touch his face and then he ran away. Jojo felt more and more wronged, her little mouth pouting. She burst into tears. Seeing this, the crown prince quickly coaxed her. Jojo, don't cry. No one dislikes you. It's big brother crown prince's fault. Just then, Jojo was picked up. The tyrant, seeing his precious daughter crying so sadly, immediately darkened his face. What is going on? Jojo respectfully bowed to her elder brother, the crown prince. But the crown prince inexplicably got angry. It was because he heard Jojo's thoughts. Just now, the tyrant thought the crown prince was bullying his precious little princess. Without a word, he ordered him to reflect on his actions. The tyrant carried Jojo back to his seat. Li Fei and I coaxed him for a long time, but Jojo's tears just wouldn't stop, like a floodgate had opened. They flowed and flowed uncontrollably. The big tyrant was at his wit's end. He gave Jojo a large drumstick. After crying for so long, he must be starving. Eat first, then cry. Jojo was momentarily stunned. This way of comforting is quite novel. But seeing how much cheap dad cares for her, she picked up a drumstick and started eating. At last, her tears stopped. The overindulgent tyrant looked at Jojo affectionately, and gently asked if her brother the crown prince had bullied her. Jojo shook her little head like a rattle drum. It means it has nothing to do with the prince. He can't just say that he wanted to touch the pretty girl's face, and ended up being rejected. How embarrassing that would be. Thinking of this, Jojo quickly got up to dodge her father's questioning. With a proud and determined spirit, she went to find Yuaning. There was only one thought in her mind. She had to build a good relationship with him. Who cares if my cheap father can sleep soundly tonight? In a short while, Jojo spotted Yuaning, and rushed forward with quick, light steps. Unexpectedly, she bumped into a wall of flesh. Looking up, it was the crown prince, who was constantly away on campaigns. The crown prince stared at Jojo expressionlessly. You're the one who's disguised as a woman, the little 18-year-old. Jojo hurriedly bowed respectfully and greeted. But inside, she was feeling uneasy. The first prince is really unfortunate. 10 years later, in the kingdom of Western Chu, he was beheaded on the battlefield. As soon as the first prince heard Jojo's words, his face darkened instantly. He shouted angrily, you are talking nonsense. Jojo looked wronged. She mumbled, I didn't say anything. I just bowed. The people around were also stunned. They didn't know why the crown prince was angry. Seeing the situation was bad, the crown prince could only turn and leave. Jojo stuck her tongue out at him. I wanted to kindly remind him to be careful not to trip and knock out his front teeth, but the crown prince just looked smug. He thought Jojo was talking nonsense. Having practiced martial arts for many years, how could he possibly fall so easily? But who would have thought that the next second he would step on his own robe and fall flat on his face with a thud? What's worse is, the tyrant heard the noise and came over. Why is it so loud? The crown prince hurriedly got up and knocked out his front tooth. He spoke with a lisp. He was really panicking. He felt so regretful inside. If only he had listened to 99 earlier. I'm just afraid that in the future, Father Emperor will neglect me because of this. Jojo watched the crown prince from the side, feeling quite sorry for him. After all, he has made great military achievements. We can't let the cheap father have any bad impression of him. So Jojo rushed in front of the cheap father, pleading for the crown prince. Father Emperor, Brother Emperor has been fighting for years, and he doesn't often wear a long robe. It's not his fault he fell. The clothes didn't fit. The great tyrant, having heard Jojo's words, immediately ordered that in future palace banquets, military officials could forego wearing long robes. He then immediately had the crown prince taken for treatment. The crown prince was rather taken aback. He hadn't expected Jojo to speak up for him, despite their past conflict. For a moment, he found this young emperor even more endearing than a little girl. Although there was a slight mishap, but nothing could stop Jojo from going to find the pretty girl. Jojo ran to Yuaning. With longing eyes, Jojo asked Sister Yu, can I sit next to you? Yuaning smiled and nodded. Of course you can. Please feel free, Your Highness. Your Highness, are you hungry? Have some snacks. Jojo waved her hand and said she wasn't hungry. She's just a child. A big chicken leg is enough to fill her up. Yuaning then invited Jojo to watch the dance performance. She also mentioned that today the South Country sent over some dancers, because they can't afford to pay the debts. They'll even send a smart child around 8 or 9 years old. As soon as Jojo heard this, she became serious. Thinking to myself, could this Nangua Ji be the same as the male lead in the book who eventually unifies the world and marries Feng Kaiwei? If he comes, won't everything be over? He's coming, he's coming. The long-awaited official pairing has finally arrived. I'm worried that GZ will destroy the Western Chu like in the book. I want to see him first. But Yuaning informed me that only the tyrant knows where GZ is imprisoned. Jojo was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. But he really didn't want to disappoint everyone for their carefully prepared birthday banquet. So he gritted his teeth and endured until the birthday banquet ended. Only then did he rush to find his cheap father to get an explanation. Jojo strode confidently towards the great tyrant. But before he could open his mouth, the great tyrant spoke first. Go see your elder brother, the crown prince. Actually, his true intentions were elsewhere. I just wanted an excuse to stay with my darling Jojo a little longer. Before long, the great tyrant arrived at the imperial concubine's palace with Jojo in his arms. Your Majesty. Father Emperor. The words had barely left their mouths when Jojo was seen darting out of the great tyrant's embrace and running to the crown prince's side to show concern. The great tyrant was instantly consumed with jealousy. I can't help but mutter about why I'm only thinking of that brat. And then I look at the crown prince. His face suddenly turns as red as an apple. He doesn't even dare to look direct. Thinking back to my previous attitude, I can't even describe how embarrassed I feel now. Concubine Hui is watching from the side, smiling with pursed lips. Hurry up and come out to smooth things over. Thank you for your concern, princess. The bleeding has stopped. Just find some suitable materials later to fix the teeth. Jiujin is here. He couldn't help but chuckle to himself. Big brother, a mighty warrior. Who would have thought that missing a few teeth would make him shy like a little princess? The crown prince listened to Jojo's heartfelt words clearly. He immediately got so angry that he shouted, I don't care about these broken teeth. With that shout, he scared Jojo so much that she dropped little pearls. Big brother, your mouth is so wide. Are you going to eat Jojo? The crown prince was completely baffled now, not knowing how to explain. At a critical moment, it had to be the tyrant who stepped in. He went forward and picked up Jojo, holding the crying Zaihu in his arms. Then he sternly reminded the crown prince a few things. Before turning to leave, the crown prince had no choice but to wait for a better time to mend his relationship with Jojo. On the way back, Jojo clung to her cheat dad, repeatedly confirming that it wouldn't distance her from the big brother. The great tyrant was so troubled by her persistence that he had no choice but to promise in person that it wouldn't happen. Only then did Jojo feel relieved and let out a long sigh. The great tyrant saw how much Jojo cared for the crown prince. My heart felt like a sour lemon. Then Jojo, with a serious expression, asked the great tyrant about Manhwa. The great tyrant, worried about Jojo's safety, advised her to stay away from him. Jojo smiled brightly and coquettishly said, then father must tell me where he is, so I know how to avoid him. Jojo knew in her heart, this Jizi is connected to the Shichu kingdom. The great tyrant heard the word kingdom, and his heart sank. I had hoped to let Jojo grow up carefree, so I never dared ask him about the kingdom. But now it seems, if this matter isn't resolved, Jojo will probably live in constant fear. After much deliberation, the great tyrant still told Jojo that the Southern Kingdom's wise woman was imprisoned in the Wisdom Pavilion. The next day, Jojo secretly came to the Wisdom Pavilion. It's as desolate as the cold palace here. No wonder father repeatedly warned him not to come alone last night. But Jojo is somewhat rebellious. The more he's told not to come, the more he wants to come. But as I reached the entrance, I was stopped by 2 guards. This is a restricted area. Your Highness, please return. I blinked my big, watery eyes at the guards. Father allowed me to come. Hearing it was the great tyrant's order, the guards dared not refuse. But when they offered to accompany and protect me, Jojo decisively refused, and stepped into the hall alone, disregarding everyone around. He thought to himself that GZ was only 8 or 9 years old, so he shouldn't be able to hurt me. Just as he passed the corner of the front yard, he suddenly spotted a small figure kneeling in the snow. Jojo was startled. Could it be the male lead, Your Majesty? The imperial princess actually feels pity for the enemy country's intelligence. She disregarded everything and rushed to plead before her tyrant father. Just now, Jojo single-handedly barged into the government office. As soon as she entered, she saw Nangwa's intelligence, Dijiang, kneeling on the ground. Jojo quickly rushed to Dijiang's side. She urged him to get up quickly. However, Dijiang's body leaned slightly backward. He seemed reluctant. I've long known from the guards that this is the tyrannical father's way of using Dijiang's punishment to assert his authority, to intimidate the Southern Kingdom. That's why he's been made to kneel and hustle for so long. Jojo secretly thinks Dijiang is nothing more than a poor pawn used by the Southern Kingdom. If he continues kneeling like this, we must not neglect the old cold legs. No wonder Yuan Shuli said that after the fall of the Western Chu, Emperor Jiang had the legs of the royal family members cut off. This must have been a grudge formed at that time, in order to prevent the Western Chu from walking down the tragic path of destruction. Jojo decided to go find the tyrant father and have a good talk. Before leaving, he held Emperor Jiang's cold hand tightly, and promised to persuade the emperor to retract the punishment. Wait for me a moment. I will definitely come back. At that moment, the heart that was bound in ice was quietly touched by a hint of warmth. But in an instant, he self-deprecatingly thought, what am I foolishly dreaming about? He just found an excuse to leave. Not long after, Jojo ran to the imperial study. The big tyrant grandpa couldn't help but smile widely when he saw the precious Jojo. He laughed so much that his mouth almost reached his ears. He picked up Jojo in one swift motion. Did you suddenly miss grandpa? Then the big tyrant began to rub Jojo's little face. But he noticed Jojo's face was all dirty. His smile instantly froze. He asked if someone had bullied her. Under the tyrannical father's forced love, Jojo finally squeezed out 3 words, I'm fine. Jojo looked directly at the great tyrant with a serious face. Father, I heard you ordered Jizi to kneel for a month. Hearing this, the great tyrant was furious, thinking that Jizi had done something to Jojo. Jojo quickly explained that Jizi hadn't bullied him, but that he just didn't want his father to punish Jizi by making him kneel anymore. The tyrant insisted that this was self-inflicted by the South. If they don't show them some consequences, they will regard the Western Chu with even less respect in the future. Jojo doesn't understand these twists and turns. He only knows that this will make Dijiang hold a grudge. Western Chu will surely be retaliated against in the future. After all, this Dijiang is the son of destiny. Once he unifies the world in the future, then Western Chu is finished. The great tyrant never imagined that this son of the Southern Kingdom was such a key figure. He thought for a moment. He also felt that merely attacking the nobles was ineffective. Jojo originally thought father would let Dijiang go. Who knew the great tyrant arrived and should have killed him directly? Jojo was so scared, he almost wet his diaper. He quickly urged the tyrant to reconsider. If this gets out, the Shichu kingdom will be at a disadvantage. Besides, Li Jiang has the aura of a male lead. How could it be so easily defeated? Isn't that just asking for hatred? The tyrant listened to the heartfelt words, and couldn't help but think of himself. Back then, he was also the chosen one. Many people coveted his life, but in the end, he still lived to ascend the throne, and took care of those people. This is fate. A great tyrant. Heaven said nothing. After a long time, he added, leave a line today, so we can meet again in the future. It's not good to have someone in the palace harboring resentment. Jojo truly doesn't want anyone to be in danger. The great tyrant, after hearing Jojo's reasoning, finally relented and spared Dijiang. Jojo jumped for joy, calling out, thank you, father. Meanwhile, Dijiang, still kneeling, kept picturing Jojo's adorable appearance in his mind. His words firm. Mixed feelings filled his heart. Suddenly, the voice welcoming the princess came. The emperor was struck as if by lightning. He couldn't believe that Jojo had really come back. Jojo had only taken a bite of a large chicken leg, and had successfully captured the heart of the cold enemy nation's wise man. Suddenly, she became the only little son in his heart. Jojo joyfully ran towards the emperor. I can't wait to tell you, little brother. Father Emperor has lifted your punishment. Get up quickly. Di Jiang looked at the chubby little princess, as if the dark feelings he had before were slowly fading away, but he couldn't help but remain skeptical. Can he really trust him? Seeing Di Jiang still lying on the ground, Jojo hurriedly called for the imperial physician to examine his leg. Don't let any after effects occur. The imperial physician quickly stepped forward, just about to begin. Di Jiang, however, was like a frightened little rabbit, absolutely refusing to be touched. Jojo quickly went over, gently coaxing the little brother. Don't be afraid, the doctor will make you better. Di Jiang ultimately cooperated with the doctor's examination. Fortunately, it's just superficial injuries. A few days of ointment will do. When Jojo heard this, she jumped up 3 feet high, so happy. That's great, the weight on her heart has finally lifted. Thank goodness. Little brother's legs are fine. Everyone's legs are finally safe. Then Jojo, like a little adult, pulled Li Jiang's hand and walked into the house. While walking, she said, I also brought a lot of delicious food. The table in the room was filled with delicacies. Jojo looked at Di Jiang's thin and frail little body, feeling heartbroken. I specifically had the imperial kitchen prepare this. I just wanted to give him a good. Di Jiang looked at the table full of dishes, and his heart felt warm. But thinking of the tyrant's previous aggressive attitude, he immediately sobered up. He thought, how could this old fox let me off because of this little girl? Maybe he's hiding some bad intentions. Are you trying to have this little girl kill me? Di Jiang is incredibly suspicious. He even suspects the food in front of him is poisoned. He wants to use his silver finger ring to secretly test it while Jojo isn't looking. Jojo notices Di Jiang's unusual demeanor. His mind races. In a moment, he remembers requesting an imperial decree from his father, the emperor. He quickly has the eunuch read it. The eunuch shouted at the top of his lungs to the southern country's son. From today onward, there is no need to kneel and reflect on your food and clothing. Pay attention to treating according to the standards of the harem. Do not be negligent. Emperor Jiang listened and could hardly believe his ears. Is this true? I really don't have to kneel anymore. I can finally have enough to eat in the future. He felt like it was all a dream. A beautiful dream carefully woven for him by this little girl. Big brother, eat quickly, Jojo said, grabbing a large chicken leg and stuffing it into her mouth. Her mouth was full of oil. She mumbled indistinctly, the imperial kitchen's cooking is so delicious. Li Jiang looked at Jojo's gluttonous appearance, and couldn't help but burst out laughing. Jojo was left with a big red face. Even her awkward toes could dig out 10 autumn water chrysanthemums. Ni is eating too. Jojo has tasted it for you. It's really delicious. Di Jiang nodded with a smile. Okay, let's eat together. At this moment, Di Jiang completely let go of his guard against Jojo. I know she has truly cared for me. I can't help but crave it. Jojo wants to eat shrimp, but her little hands are clumsy when she tries. She just can't manage it. Di Jiang watched this. He immediately took action and peeled a shrimp for her. Here, eat this. Jojo is smiling like a flower. Thank you, little brother. Little brother is having some too. The two of them are eating, one bite for you and one bite for me. They are having a great time. Their relationship is getting closer. As night falls, Di Jiang spends his first day in this strange palace without any danger. The attending servant reminded his master nearby, we should still be careful and wary of that old fox, the emperor of the Western Chu. He loathes our southern kingdom and won't let us off just because of a few words from a little princess. That little princess might have ulterior motives against you. It will surely interrupt. The servant's words. He sees it very clearly. The dignitaries of Western Chu may not have good intentions, but the little princess won't. No one will be allowed to slander the little princess. He is the first person in this world to care about him. Over the years, he must have endured much bullying. Coldly used. A heart that has long been full of wounds. He has lost hope in many things. But at this moment, he suddenly has hope in his heart. He looked forward to seeing the little princess again. The sixth son from a neighboring family proposed marriage, sending a large amount of gold and jewelry as yet. But Jojo's crown prince brother sent a sack of taro. Early this morning, Jojo just woke up, rubbing his sleepy eyes, only to see 3 enlarged faces staring straight at him. He was so scared that he let out a loud yell. My princely brothers, though adorable, this sudden scare would frighten anyone. The crown prince quickly apologized, and punished himself by copying scriptures. Jojo's heart softened, and she forgave her brothers. The crown prince paused. Jojo, do you want to go out of the palace for a stroll? Yes, yes. Jojo was overjoyed. He had long wanted to see the colorful world outside, but he was puzzled as to why his brother, the crown prince, wanted to take him out. At this moment, the 10th brother and the 11th brother were eavesdropping nearby. The crown prince wants to propose to Yuanin. I'm also afraid that General Yu's bad temper won't agree, so I thought about bringing Xiao Jiu along. Maybe it could lead to some opportunities. When Jiu heard this, she looked at the crown prince with a hint of sorrow. Crown prince, you are using Jiu. The crown prince felt a bit embarrassed at being seen through. He quickly explained that it was just one of the reasons. Jojo, don't you really like Miss Yu? Maybe this time you can touch her face. This struck a chord with Jojo. Really? Really? What if I can't touch it? The prince guarantees it. If you can't touch it, I'll let Jojo ride me like a horse. The temptation of riding a horse is quite big. Without saying a word, he agreed. In his view, no matter what, he wouldn't lose out. Before leaving, the prince once again swore an oath that he would definitely let him touch Miss Yu's face. But who would have thought that the slap in the face would come so quickly? Liang Xiaoji stood at the gate of the Yu residence, looking at the tightly closed door of Zhu Qi. It was filled with shock. The crown prince's awkward toes could dig out 10 eastern palaces. He pondered silently for a long time. It seems I need to find a way to win over General Yu. He suddenly remembered what he read in a book. After General Yu retired from the battlefield, he particularly missed the taro they often ate with his brothers back in the day. But now, taro is quite rare in the capital. If the crown prince can get some taro, perhaps General Yu would be willing to open the door. Jojo's eyes lit up. She hurriedly said to the crown prince, brother, let's go to the West Market to buy some gifts. It might come in handy. The crown prince listened to Jojo's words. With a knowing smile, Jojo is really smart. I heard that General Yu loves to eat taro the most. Let's go find it there. However, the road to the West Market was not as easy to walk as imagined. Little Jojo was almost exhausted. Fortunately, heaven does not disappoint those with sincere intentions. Finally, they bought a sack of taro from a vendor. The group then arrived at the general's residence. The person is knocking again, saying that His Highness has sent taro for General Yu, which he loves to eat. Please let us in and open the door. When Xiao Si heard taro, she immediately politely asked them to wait in the front hall. She went to report first. It wasn't long before she heard Xiao Si loudly announce General Yu's arrival. Then, General Yu walked in briskly. Although he has retired from the battlefield, the strong and vigorous aura honed on the battlefield is palpable, inspiring awe. Suddenly, his gaze locked onto Jojo beside him. Jojo trembled, wondering in her heart, why is this old man looking at me? Then General Yu smiled like a blooming crimson flower. The princess has arrived as well. Why didn't you tell me beforehand? And then, seeing the taro root I've been longing for, I was so excited my eyes lit up. Seeing this, Jojo pleaded in a childish voice for him to grant the crown prince's request. General Yu, upon hearing this, the smile on his face instantly vanished. If you're here to propose marriage, then you should give up on that idea as soon as possible. Jojo's heart suddenly sank. Could my ship just graduate like this? With Jojo's assist, brother and sister-in-law finally became a couple. Jojo was puzzled. My crown prince brother is so excellent. What is General Yu dissatisfied with? But General Yu looked calm. Slowly speaking, His Highness the Crown Prince is naturally the pride of heaven. But as for a worthy son-in-law, I already have someone in mind. Lu Pei, the son of the minister of the palace, is a gentleman one can trust for a lifetime. I hope His Highness the Crown Prince will seek another suitable match. Upon hearing this, the Crown suddenly felt his pupils tremble. Just as he was about to open his mouth to stop her, he heard Jojo mumbling in his heart. What kind of gentleman is Lu Pei? He's nothing but a lecherous and vulgar man. He often bullies and oppresses men and women. If only Crown Prince brother could let Grandpa Yu see his ugly face, he would definitely sever this wicked relationship. Jojo struggles with how to tell Crown Prince brother. After all, this content is too advanced for a 5-year-old. Seeing Jojo's distress, the Crown Prince breaks the silence. These topics are so boring. How about I take you out to buy some toys? Jojo listened. She nodded blindly, saying yes, yes. I heard the bamboo dragonflies at the night market are really fun. General Yu saw that it was getting late. He was very worried about Jojo's safety. Jojo blinked her innocent Casilon big eyes at General Yu. She coquettishly said, Grandpa Yu is so amazing. He'll definitely protect Jojo. Just come with us. General Yu, usually decisive and ruthless, was completely charmed by Jojo's single act of coquettishness. Finally, he nodded helplessly. A short while later, General Yu, carrying Jojo, arrived at the night market with the Crown Prince. Jojo saw the bamboo dragonfly and instantly turned into a gorilla. Jojo is so lovable. General Yu couldn't help but want to pamper her. Jojo likes it. Grandpa Yu will buy it for you. Although Jojo really likes the intricately crafted bamboo dragonfly, she is not greedy. She just wants one. After all, I have another purpose for this trip. Suddenly, a commotion and noise came from the distance. Among them was a woman's pitiful cry. Well, look who it is, Lu Pei, delivering himself to us. Jojo, in a childish voice, reminded Grandpa Yu, is Lu Pei the worthy son-in-law you mentioned? General Yu carried Jojo towards the source of the commotion. He saw Lu Pei harassing a frail woman. He was arrogantly shouting, come with me. I guarantee you a life of luxury. The woman was in tears. She cried out, just a few days ago, you took my sister away like this. And within 2 days, she was tortured to death by you. The woman struggled desperately, but Lu Pei responded with even fiercer threats. Either obediently come with me, either grandfather will disfigure you right now. The woman trembled in fear. While crying, she cast pleading glances at the people around her. Just then, Lu Pei's lackey caught a glimpse of General Yu in the crowd. He hurriedly reminded his master. Your father-in-law is over there. Lu Pei, however, was unconvinced. With a cold laugh, she said that old fool is quite stubborn. Never go out at night. General Yu was furious. He couldn't stand it any longer. He shouted angrily at Lu Pei. Lu Pei suddenly jolted. He turned around. There was no chance at all. He threw a few heavy punches right at Lu Pei's big face. Immediately, General Yu grabbed Lu Pei's collar and glared at him furiously. Tomorrow, I will send you to the officials for investigation. As for the marriage, let's pretend it never happened. Witnessing General Yu's ferocious side for so long, I couldn't help but feel worried about the Crown Prince's future. However, thanks to this, the general finally saw through Lu Pei's true nature. The attitude towards the Crown Prince has quietly softened a lot. They even unprecedentedly invited the Crown Prince to stay for dinner. Moments later, Yu Weining came out with the maids, carrying steaming dishes. She clapped her little hands happily for a long time. She enthusiastically invited Yu Weining to sit beside her. Yu Weining casually stole a glance at the Crown Prince. By chance, she met his gentle gaze. For a moment, both of their faces turned as red as big apples. General Yu took everything in with his eyes. Seeing that the two seemed to have each other in their hearts, his heart began to waver. After observing for a while, he decided to add fuel to the fire. He blinked. In a crisp voice, he asked Grandpa Yu, can the Crown Prince and Sister Yu be together now? The moment those words left her lips, a deafening silence fell over the room. General Yu cleared his throat, breaking the slightly awkward silence. This matter should not be delayed. Your Highness, I shall give you my answer now. The prince's heart was racing, almost jumping to his throat. He eagerly looked at General Yu, waiting for the answer that would determine his happiness. Because Jojo was just too adorable, she caught people's attention on her first outing. The prince fell deeply in love with Yu Wanning at first sight. Though the palace was treacherous, the young prince was deeply infatuated. General Yu has gone to great lengths to please Wanning. General Yu has witnessed all of this. He is deeply moved by the Crown Prince's sincerity. In his heart, he has already accepted this future son-in-law. Finally, General Yu solemnly agreed to the Crown Prince's marriage proposal. The Crown Prince was so excited that his face turned red. He secretly glanced at Wanning beside him. Just as their gazes met, in that moment, both of their ears turned bright red. The prince stammered nervously. He blurted out, that aunt, Xiao will come to propose tomorrow. The CP of the 99th subject has finally come to fruition. He bounced over to Yu Weining like a joyful little rabbit. Sister Yu, we'll be family from now on. Saying this, he couldn't wait to reach out a small hand. He gently touched Yu Weining's face, the face he had longed for in his dreams. Touched it. Touched it. Jojo's happy eyes narrowed into slits. But the next second, he deflated like a punctured balloon. He muttered in his heart, it's a pity that Crown Prince brother can't give me a piggyback ride. The Crown Prince heard Jojo's thoughts. Can't help but laugh. He secretly noted down Jojo's little wish. It was getting late. The prince took Jojo back to the residence outside the palace. The prince was still immersed in joy. Today he was able to succeed in his request. Jojo was a great contributor. Jojo, thank you, big brother prince. Jojo heard it and immediately closed her eyes pretending to sleep. But inside, she was mumbling about not wanting to ride the horse. Jojo ignored you for a long time. The prince, seeing this, gently poked Jojo's cute little face. With a smile, he tempted her. Jojo, big brother prince will give you a ride on the horse. As soon as Jojo heard this, all her drowsiness vanished. She sprang out of bed like a carp leaping. In the blink of an eye, she climbed onto the prince's back, riding on him. The two siblings were having a great time. The dear magpie hurried over to report. The second prince has come to congratulate late at night. Your Highness, the prince is overjoyed. He said he had something important to tell me about medicine. The crown prince has been close friends with the second prince since childhood. I heard he had arrived. I immediately ordered my attendants to invite him in with respect. But my face changed drastically. I anxiously called out in my heart. The second prince is not a good person. He's hiding his identity as a false prince. Deliberately getting close to the crown prince is just to usurp the position of crown prince. The crown prince was originally overjoyed. Hearing such words from Jojo felt like a thunderbolt. Recalling the various oddities of the second prince, it's no wonder he looks quite different from the other princes. Moreover, he was rejected by his biological mother since childhood, only close to himself. All these years, I have truly regarded him as a brother, but he harbors malicious intentions. Jojo looked at the crown prince with worry. She was conflicted about whether to reveal the second prince's plot. The crown prince looked at Jojo, a little girl, yet he was racking his brain to think of a solution for her. He was deeply moved inside. He took the initiative to tell the attendant beside him that he was a bit tired today. Let's talk about it another day. Pause for a moment. He seriously instructed that he should come again later. Just find any reason to beat him up. I don't want to see him. It's rare to see the crown prince so decisive. In my heart, I couldn't help but think the crown prince is amazing. The crown prince heard Jojo's exaggerated thoughts. Jojo smiled. It's too late today. Brother crown prince, can you ride the horse for me another day? Okay, Jojo nodded obediently. Before long, Jojo fell sweetly asleep with the crown prince by her side. She was still thinking that she would definitely help brother crown prince avoid a tragic ending. The crown prince looked at the sleeping Jojo. His heart was filled with warmth and comfort, secretly swearing to protect her at all costs. The next day, Jojo slept until late morning. When she woke up, she found that the prince had already left to deliver the betrothal gifts to the Yu family. She was not angry at all. Instead, a bold idea arose in her mind to go out for a stroll. Goi Mama, worried about the princess's safety, strongly disagreed. But Jojo was not willing to back down. With her big, watery eyes blinking, Jojo tugged at Granny Goi, acting cute and said, Granny Goi, will you accompany me? Also bring a few guards to follow secretly. It will be fine. Granny Goi looked at the adorable Jojo, and couldn't bring herself to refuse. She had no choice but to agree. Thus, Jojo, with Goi Mama, quietly, left the house. But she was completely unaware that as she stepped out of the mansion gates, a pair of eyes in the shadows were fixed on her. Who was watching her? The crown prince, in order to please Jojo, actually treated her to 20 baskets of meat buns. It scared the person away directly. Just now, Jojo secretly slipped out of the prince's residence. He wanted to go eat snacks that he couldn't find in the palace. As he joyfully weaved through the bustling crowd, a dog's paw suddenly reached out to him. Jojo was so scared that his face lost all color. He almost had an out-of-body experience. The crown prince had a beaming smile on his face. He had quietly followed Jojo from behind, waiting for the chance to build a good relationship with her, hoping that Jojo would like him. However, the reality was far from his ideal. Reality was quite harsh. Jojo looked at the crown prince. There was not a trace of joy on her face. I couldn't help but feel puzzled. Why is he carrying me like a puppy? Is he still holding a grudge from before? The crown prince was full of expectations, but in an instant it shattered into pieces. Seeing Jojo's wary gaze, he suddenly became flustered. He hurriedly explained that Big Brother was just too happy to see you. I didn't mean to scare you. As an apology, Big Brother will take you to eat the best baozi in the entire capital. Hearing about food, 99 immediately perked up. But his wariness of Big Brother remained. The crown prince secretly regretted not being nicer to 99 at the birthday banquet. In a short while, the two arrived at the most famous bun shop in the capital. The crown prince, with a hearty expression, said, Jojo, order whatever you want. Big Brother's treating. Jojo looked at the dazzling array of buns on the menu, immediately suffering from choice paralysis. The crown prince saw this, and thought it was a perfect opportunity to increase Jojo's favorability. Immediately enthusiastically recommends his favorite meat buns. Upon hearing this, Jojo secretly scoffs in her heart, aren't the meat buns in the palace delicious? The crown prince hears Jojo's thoughts. Embarrassed, he digs his toes into the ground. He quickly changes his words. That's because you haven't tried the wild army filling. You should give it a try this time. Jojo looked at the eager eyes of the crown prince. She smiled and nodded. Seeing Jojo agree, the crown prince was overjoyed. He thought he must give her a big surprise. So he hurried to place the order. Unexpectedly, this surprise turned into a fright. 20 steaming baskets of buns piled up like a small mountain before him. Jojo's eyes widened in disbelief. Big Brother Yuan, are you sure you're not feeding pigs? Passers-by around cast strange looks. Indeed, being young has its advantages. You can handle so much at once. Jojo worried that there were too many buns to finish, but the crown prince confidently assured her, this is just his portion for one meal. Passers-by were shocked speechless upon hearing this. They never imagined someone so young could eat so much. Jojo, hearing this, felt so embarrassed that he could have dug out 10 imperial palaces and ran away. Jojo stopped eating and went out for a stroll. He didn't forget to remind the crown prince to finish his buns before leaving. No wasting allowed. Got rid of the silly Big Brother. Jojo wandered alone on the street. Suddenly, his gaze was drawn to a jewelry stall. It's a rare chance to leave the palace. Jojo wanted to pick a gift for his mother. Just as he was carefully selecting, a loud and arrogant voice came from behind. My sister has taken a liking to the jade pendant around your neck. Hand it over quickly. Upon hearing this, Jojo immediately protected the jade pendant around her neck. She turned around cautiously. Who are you? This is my thing. Why should I give it to you? This was crafted for me by my mother using her dowry when she was in the cold palace. It means a lot to him. It must not be taken away. The young man in green, seeing Jojo unwilling to hand over the jade inlaid gold, immediately threatens to report back to his family. I am Jiang Cheng, the cousin of Lu Pei, the son of the deputy minister of Bowman. If you know what's good for you, hand over the item quickly. Otherwise, you'll regret it. Jojo won't fall for this. He responded with a cold smile to Lu Pei. Already sent to jail. Can't even save yourself. And you want to rob me in the street? Then let's both go to jail. Jiang Cheng heard this. Furious. You little girl. Refusing toast. Just as he was about to confront Jojo, a large bun flew through the air. With a thump, it landed precisely on Jiang Cheng's face. The crown prince arrived just in time. He shielded Jojo behind him, eyes wide with anger, shouting, I dare you to try making another move.